Morning, Sue. This is Randy with the Red River Authority.
Good morning.
I'll be back on now.
Okay, glad you could join us.
And this is Sonia Hubbard. I'm on too.
Good morning.
Hello, Sonia. It's Clyde.
Hey, I'm trying to figure out all my new devices. So this, I got a new laptop, and so I'm on the phone right now. If I join in later, you'll see me.
That's okay. Either way is fine.
Okay.
Okay, well, why don't we go ahead and call to order, and very much appreciate everybody's flexibility with going to this new virtual format, and a very big shout out to Commissioner Seidman and Andrea on his staff. Great job with lining up Grayson College. If James is on as well, thank you so much for making all this happen. For those of you who could join the committee meetings yesterday, I think they went quite well. There's James. Good morning. Thanks. So maybe I will just do a roll call through the states and then let each of the commissioners announce themselves so that we can see everybody and make sure everyone's audio is working. And then we'll start from there. So I'm Sue Lowry. I am the federal chair and calling in from Cheyenne, Wyoming this morning. So I will mute, and maybe we'll just work our way around since Texas is host. Clyde, I'll let you introduce yourself, and then whoever's on from the state.
Thank you, Chairman. Clyde Seidman, Commissioner from Texas. I'd also like to recognize some folks that are on, I think, for the first time. We have representatives from the Riverbend Water Resources District with us. Sonia Hubbard, who's introduced herself previously when she entered the conference. She is on the board of the Riverbend, and also Kyle Dooley. Kyle Dooley is the executive director of Riverbend, and Kelly Mitchell is on the board of the Sulphur River Sulphur River Basin Authority, SRBA. And so we really are honored to have them join us for the first time, and we appreciate it. And hopefully they'll be a regular participant in our activities. I think we probably this is the first time they've been officially and formally invited. So it's more our deficit than theirs that this is the first time they've attended. We also have a law student extern, Molly Liberto, with the Office of the Louisiana Attorney General, Jeff Landry, who's also joining us on the call. Those are some of our guests that I wanted to make sure that we recognized and let them know how much we appreciate them being with us. And thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate the invite.
That's great. And for any of you who would like to get put on the distribution, I can maybe work, Clyde, with your office, or if any of you would like to send your contact information. Certainly, we do everything by email, so the more the merrier, and I'm happy to add you on to the distribution. So welcome, and glad we've made contact. So
I don't think anyone from TCEQ has joined us yet. Is that correct? I think that is correct. So
I'm here, Trent Gade. I help out Scott.
Oh, okay, great, very good. Well, thank you for joining us this morning. And
thanks, Trent. And I guess if
I would be remiss without giving a shout out, another shout out to Andrea. She's really, she's actually held two conferences now. She held the real conference that we were going to have, and then she's held the virtual conference that we're actually she's planned the virtual conference that we're actually having. She had quite a conference planned if we were here in person, but this virtual conference is a real challenge. It's the first time I think it's ever been done, obviously, and so she plowed new ground and did a fantastic job. And I really do appreciate it. I couldn't have done it without Andrea. So thank you very much, Andrea, for all you did on this.
But it was certainly a team effort. And I really do want to also just take just a minute to recognize James Scoggins and Jeremy McMillan with the Grayson College, Community College here. We have a fantastic community college. They are great community partners. When we were trying to figure out the logistics of this, it took 1 or 2 calls and they were on board to help at a moment's notice. So I just want to make sure we recognize them for their efforts on this as well. Thanks.
No, absolutely. It's gone as seamless as possible, right? So, so thank you so much. And Trent, I guess if Commissioner Baker or his designee is able to get on, if you could just let us know, and we'll make sure that gets added to the record. So, so Julie, I see you. Let's go ahead and go to Oklahoma.
Chairman Lowry, I just wanted to add, this is Heather Hunsaker from the Texas Attorney General's office. I dropped out in the middle of Commissioner Easements speaking, so I'm not sure if he introduced me, but I am here this morning.
Great, thanks so much, Heather, and appreciate your chairing the legal committee yesterday. And so thank you for speaking up. I didn't, with all the names up here, it's hard to keep track of who all has joined. So thank you for announcing yourself.
And actually, I may have to just join by phone, and so my name might not appear, but then my phone number will still be there.
Okay.
I know of.
All right, I'd appreciate your giving that report if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. I'll take care of that.
Thank you. And we'll just cast our vote by consensus.
That sounds great. I don't believe we have any controversial subjects coming up, but just for future reference, and of course with this new virtual way of doing business, but I believe the bylaws stipulate that some sort of designation occurs. But Scott, we certainly appreciate all the efforts you've put in, and feel free to chime in. We won't get too hung up on the protocols here. So thanks so much. Okay, I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut off anybody else from the host state of Texas. If anybody else has any announcement. Okay, great. I think Julie, we're your turn.
Yes, I hope I'm not echoing. Can you guys hear me okay? Great. Julie Cunningham, Commissioner for Oklahoma. I did scroll down the list, and Commissioner Dobbs is on the line too. So we're happy to have him with us. I just want to say thank you all for coordinating this, Chairman Lowry and all the Texas gang. And I will say that we are looking forward to the in-person meeting. Hopefully we can make it down to Texas so you can keep your agenda. You are definitely not off the hook. So just count on us. I'm still ready for that hospitality dinner on the ranch. So we'll certainly plan on that for next year. So thanks everybody for coordinating, and glad to be here.
You do realize that branch is in Oklahoma.
Oh, well, okay. Well, that's even better, I guess, right?
I thought you might like that. I wanted to make that point. That's kind of shows how well we get along down here.
Well, okay. All right. We'll behave today.
That's great. Commissioner Dobbs, I guess, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, this is Charles Dobbs. I'm the other commissioner from Oklahoma. I'm glad to join you. Go to meetings, a different option, but I guess that's what we have to do. So I look forward to today's meeting.
Glad you were able to join us. So moving on to Arkansas, would like to recognize that they do have a new commissioner, Commissioner Ward, and so I do see Ryan on actually the camera. So if I'll let whoever take the lead from Arkansas.
Yeah, well, good morning. This is Wes Ward from Arkansas, so appreciate the opportunity to join you. And I do just want to recognize a few of the Arkansas folks as well that are either on now or have participated yesterday and maybe later today as well. So as you mentioned, Madam Chairman, we've got Ryan Benefield, who was on, Ken Brazil, who participated in yesterday's committee meetings and may be on already today, Sean Jackson, and Michael Bynum from the Arkansas Department of Agriculture. And I'll touch more later from our commission report on some of the transformation efforts from Arkansas. We also have Jen Sheehan, who's joined this morning from the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission. So that's a quick update from the Arkansas Department of Agriculture. So pleasure to join you.
And I'm here also, Commissioner from Arkansas. Glad to be with you this morning. I'm just trying to learn this technology so I can be involved as much as possible. Thank you.
You're doing great, Commissioner Gibson. We see you and we hear you. So thanks so much. And Wes, a big welcome to you. I want to just recognize Bruce Holland's contributions during the time that he was commissioner, and wish him well, and welcome aboard to you, Commissioner Ward. So we'll look forward to working together. And last but certainly not least, moving on to Louisiana, I've heard Ed Knight, and I believe John Michael is on. So again, I will let you guys introduce yourselves.
Well, if Ed's not here, this is John Michael. I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I'm in Northwest Louisiana, having some AT&T issues with bandwidth, so I'm no video capable today, but glad to be here.
And Sue, this is Pat Landry in Baton Rouge. I'm the other commissioner. I am the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Public Works for DOTD. I want to introduce the people that are here with me today. Michelle Hall is with the Attorney General's office. I think you heard her speak a little bit yesterday during the legal committee meeting. We have Mr. Jonathan Atkins. He's staff engineer in our dam safety program. And of course, Ed Knight. All of you know Ed, who's been involved with the Red River Compact Commission for many years. He was the dam safety official for the state of Louisiana. I'm happy to report that Ed has recently been promoted up to the Director of Dams and Levees for the state of Louisiana. That happened about a month ago. What that means for Red River, really not a lot is going to change. I'm still anticipating Ed's involvement with the Red River Compact Commission, but yeah, sorry, Ed, but he's been very involved with it. We're pleased with what he has done and what he has brought to the table for the state of Louisiana. But he will continue in his role with us as on the engineering committee with the Red River Compact Commission. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Sue.
Great, thanks so much, Commissioner Landry. Glad you were able to join us, and I think that takes care of each of the commissioners. And I think given our virtual format, I think it might be difficult to work our way around. So I think, Andrea, with the recording, and are you able to, as far as keeping track for the attendance, I guess, do we need to go around individually and have everybody introduce themselves, or is there another way to track that?
Maybe you could just suggest that anybody who hasn't introduced already introduce themselves.
Okay, sure.
Good morning. This is Laura Ashley Overdyke. I'm an interested party with the Caddo Lake Institute in Northwest Louisiana, Northeast Texas, taken over from Rick Lowry, and just trying to stay up to speed.
Great. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you.
My name is Mike Brickman. I'm with the North Texas Municipal Water District in Wiley, Texas. I'm one of the larger water suppliers in the Dallas Metroplex area.
Good morning, Mike. Glad we got our email issues figured out, so welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for working on that with me.
You bet, you're welcome.
So Chairman Larry, this is Julie from Oklahoma. I did not mention we've got the rest of our staff is Sarah Gibson on the line, Kent Wilkins, Johannes Suging, and Mary Sculey.
Great. Thanks so much, Julie.
This is Rich Brontoli, Red River Valley Association.
Good morning, Rich.
Good morning.
And did I hear that you have a time constraint towards the end? We'll make sure you have time to give your report.
Well, yeah, I'm going to have to sign off about 10:30, but it is included in the packets. So, anybody's welcome to contact me if they have a question, if we don't get to me. So.
Okay, great. We should start moving along here when we're done with the introductions. So thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Chairman Lowry. This is Clint Evans. I'm the acting state conservationist for the USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service in Texas. We also have Rob Zier, our assistant state conservationist for partnerships, on the meeting with us today as well. And Rob will be presenting the NRCS update. So it's a pleasure to get to see a few faces here on the video conference this morning. And look forward to hopefully having an opportunity to meet Commissioner Seidman and others, partners from the great state of Texas here in the coming weeks and months during my detail in Temple. So thanks for having us. And Rob's going to be sharing some program information with you all where we'll have some opportunities to hopefully build some collaborative partnerships between state, local, and federal agencies where we have opportunities to implement program funding and projects in the Red River Valley. So thank you.
You bet. Thank you, Clint. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Chairman Lowry. This is Louis Holstead, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, sitting in for Micah Body today to provide the Tulsa District update for the Compact Commissions. I'm glad to be here with you all.
Great. Thanks for joining us. Okay. Anybody else like to announce yourself?
Good morning. This is Jason Lewis with the USGS representing the Oklahoma-Texas Water Science Center.
Good morning, Jason.
Hi, this is Nathan Coonard. I'm in Illinois on family leave, so hopefully the logistics are going to be okay today. And I'm with the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation. I'm based out of Oklahoma City, and we have another office in Austin. And I'm prepared to give a brief summary update of some of our recent and completed activities in the Red River Basin later this morning on the federal activities agenda item.
Great. Thanks, Nathan. Especially appreciate, since you're tending to family business, appreciate you calling in.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So Commissioner Lowry, I was just informed that I've got one more on the line. I apologize, Mr. Bill Cothran, last but not least, I think, it has joined us as well. So if there's anybody else from Oklahoma, please announce yourself. Sorry.
Great, no problem. Welcome, Bill. And thanks for joining in yesterday too. I know with this, our new dispersed way of working, it's not like you can just walk down the hall all the time, right? So.
This is Gary Burke. I'm with the Us Geological Survey, Oklahoma, Texas Water Science Center.
Great, welcome, Gary.
Hi, I'm Molly Liberto, and I know you introduced me earlier, but I didn't get a chance to say thank you for letting me attend. I'm really excited to hear what you have to say.
Good, thanks, Molly. Always good to see people just entering their career, so welcome. Okay, I think that might just about wrap up our introductions. So thank you, everybody, and good to see everybody in little 1-inch squares. So I think we're ready to move on to the approval of the minutes. Many thanks, Mary. I know putting together these minutes is a time-consuming endeavor, but you did a fantastic job. Does anybody have any edits to offer to the draft minutes that were circulated? Mary sent out a draft of the full annual report and the minutes were in there. There was also a slightly older version that was in the packet that Andrea distributed. So the only thing, Mary, that I saw was, I believe, and the Arkansas people can help me with the right pronunciation, is it Beth? Which I believe is B-O-E-U-F, and I think
it is Beth. Beth.
Okay.
Yep, just like it's B-E-F.
Okay, good. Thanks, John. So anyway, I believe that was maybe misspelled a place or two in the minutes, but other than that, I think they were fantastic. A good capture of the discussion. So if anybody else has any other edits, I would entertain those. Otherwise, I think we're ready for a motion to approve.
Clyde Seidman, I would move to approve the minutes.
And this is Pat Landry in Louisiana. Second that.
Thank you, Pat. Any other discussion or edits? All of those in favor of approval of the minutes from the 2019 annual meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved, and many thanks, Mary. Appreciate it. The draft annual report was also circulated. This might be a good time to just see if there's any comments on the draft that Mary sent out. I think that was just yesterday. Okay, hearing none, we will discuss the annual reports a little bit later on in the agenda. So again, thanks, Mary. I know that's a lot of effort, and appreciate all of your work. Moving on to my report, I don't really have too much new in the way of Red River activities, just with the COVID and as already been mentioned, our inopportunity to travel to Texas. But I think we just don't know what's going to happen in the next few months, right? So I think this was definitely the right decision to get this annual meeting scheduled up and held. And again, I appreciate everybody's flexibility in making this happen yesterday and today. I do, it is on the agenda, so I won't belabor the issue much now, other than to plant the seed in everybody's brain for the later discussion on how we serve up and actually have a little bit more of a Red River Compact Commission presence on the web. I think this need to hold this committee, this annual meeting virtually, pointed out the importance and why it would be handy if more of the annual reports were available online and easily accessible. So I think we can discuss the best way to make that happen. If one of the states perhaps could host that, and I think that's been done to some degree in the past, but maybe we can discuss how to make sure that each of the last maybe 4 years or something annual reports are available and online. So I guess I would just reiterate, I think that's an important thing that maybe we can come out of this meeting as an action item. So I think that was really all I had in the way of a report of the chair. So moving on to the treasurer's report, and Ryan, appreciate you stepping up to being our treasurer, and you had sent out a couple of documents related to our finances. So I'll let you take it away.
All right, can everyone hear me? Give me a thumbs up. All right. So yeah, I sent out 2 different documents, but the one I'm going to talk about right now is the just how we did on our budget last year. The one is our budget versus actuals. As you can see, we exceeded our anticipated income by $4.72 in interest. All states paid their dues, and so we ended up with 100.21% of our budget on income. On expenses, I kept us way under budget. We were only 7.94% of our anticipated budget, but we always are about that amount. So, you know, we had some small expenses during the year, the biggest one being the report printing. We also paid for our audit. One thing that I didn't mention on the call yesterday was we actually pay $275 to audit 2 years at a time. So we don't do it every year. Every other year, I alternate it with the Arkansas River Compact. 1 year they do Red River, 1 year they do Arkansas River. So they do 2 years at a time. So we pay $275 to have 2 years audited each time. I did note yesterday that they have let us know that that might be going up slightly. But we don't know what that's going to be. But I wouldn't anticipate it being a great increase, but just slightly over the $275. The other thing to note is we do still maintain a crime bond, a liability bond against any kind of theft or fraud. So I don't have the last checking account for the fiscal of the year we operate under. So this is through May 31st. The other one should be here in about 4 days. But you can see we are in a good state financially for the year. So with that, when we get to the budget committee, you'll see the proposed budget for next year. But if there's any questions on the budget or on the budget, or the financing, normally I have the stack for everyone to look at, and they can look at the audit, they can look at every account. If we do this virtually next year, I'll have to figure out, I'll end up scanning that all, I think, and putting it out there. I like everyone to be able to see everything, but we're good on our audit, and we're well funded for the future. So, you know, just keep in mind, we do have funding if we need to use some funding to help to do a website or to do some sort of virtual online presence. The compact is well funded right now and able to handle that. All right. Any questions?
Thanks, Ryan. Any questions for Ryan? And very much appreciate Arkansas's continued willingness to track our funds. I know it's not a huge amount of money or a huge number of transactions, but it all takes time, and we appreciate your contribution there. And thanks for raising that. You know, we might have a little bit of funding to help support, depending on where we would want to wind up with the website. So that's a good idea. Okay, any other questions on our fiscal matters before we move on? Okay, hearing none, let's go ahead and move on to the report of the commissioners. And we'll start with the host state. And Scott, I believe you said you would be presenting that on behalf of Texas.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Chairman Lowry. Looking at drought conditions in Texas, as of June 23rd, about 53% of Texas was under some level of drought, with 9% experiencing extreme to severe drought conditions. This is a lot worse than last year, when only 4% of the state in its entirety was in any level of drought. 66% of the Red River Basin is experiencing drought conditions, 30% being extreme to severe. This is mostly in the western reaches. The eastern reaches of the Red and the Sulphur River and Cypress Creek basins are currently experiencing no drought. The NOAA Climate Prediction Center is predicting that the drought conditions in northwest Texas will remain, but may improve in some areas over the next few months. There's also a 40 to 50% chance of above normal temperatures and an equal to increased chance of above average precipitation through September. On page 2, looking at groundwater, in Texas, landowners own the groundwater below the surface of the land, subject to any regulation by the groundwater conservation districts. The only real update I have here is as of June 2020, a total of 101 groundwater conservation districts have been created, and there are currently 8 in the Red River Basin in Texas. Looking at environmental flows, the Environmental Flows Advisory Group of Texas Legislature has not yet set a schedule for consideration of environmental flow standards in the Red, Sulphur, or Cypress Creek basins. However, some water rights in these basins do include permit conditions to protect the environment. The Caddo Lake Flows Project was initiated in 2004. The goal was to develop consensus recommendations for environmental flow standards for consideration by state agencies to determine the feasibility of a new operating plan for releases from Lake of the Pines to provide some of the in-stream flows in Big Cypress Bayou, to obtain official recognition of the environmental flow regimes in the official state program, and to develop a long-term adaptive management process for the Cypress Creek Basin. There were a series of meetings that were held with natural resource experts and stakeholders to basically develop recommendations for environmental flow regimes that mimic the natural flow patterns within monthly, seasonal, and yearly variations. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Northeast Texas Municipal Water District have committed to implementing the flow regimes for Big Cypress Bayou with releases of water from Lake of the Pines for a 5-year test period to the extent water is available. In exchange, the conditions in Big Cypress Bayou and and Caddo Lake will be monitored to evaluate the benefit of the releases. The environmental flow recommendations have been implemented in the 2017 State Water Plan. On page 4, the Red River Boundary Commission. I'm sorry, go ahead.
This is Laura Ashley from the Caddo Lake Institute. I just wanted to update you all that that has been a very successful effort. And in 2018, the Corps of Engineers put those recommendations, those flow regimes into the operations manual at the Lake of the Pines Dam. So that is those flow regimes are now part of the operations manual at the Lake of the Pines Dam. And it typically means more water for Caddo Lake, not less.
Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate the update. Look at the Red River Boundary Commission of Texas. In 2000, the states of Texas and Oklahoma signed the Texoma Area Boundary Agreement, which established the state's boundary in Lake Texoma, reached and located the boundary on a set of USGS topographic quadrangle maps. Subsequently, a portion of the pump station, which had been constructed by the Northeast Municipal Water District in 1989, was shown to be located within the state of Oklahoma. The next 2 paragraphs give a little background about that. I'm not going to go through that. The only update I have is in January 2020, Governor Abbott of Texas named a chair and appointed 4 commissioners to the Red River Boundary Commission to confer and act jointly with representatives appointed on behalf of the state of Oklahoma. On page 5, looking at the Texas Water Plan of 2017, this is still the active water plan. Texas population is expected to increase more than 70% between 2020 and 2070. Approximately 5,500 water management water management strategies recommended in this plan would provide 3.4 million acre feet per year in additional water supplies to water user groups in 2020 and 8.5 million acre feet per year in 2070. The estimated capital cost to design, construct, and implement the approximately 2,500 recommended water management strategy projects by 2070 is $63 billion, which leads us down to the State Water Implementation Fund for Texas, called the SWIFT program. It was enabled by the Texas Legislature and a state constitutional amendment in 2013 for $2 billion to help communities develop and optimize water supplies at cost-effective rates. The program provides low-interest loans, extended repayment terms, deferral of loan repayments, and incremental repurchase terms for projects contained in the 2017 State Water Plan. This original investment is designed to fund close to $27 billion in water supply projects over the next 50 years to help ensure that Texas communities have adequate supplies of water during drought. The Texas Water Development Board managed the administration and disbursement of the funds, and through the fiscal year 2019, SWIFT has committed over $8 billion for projects across Texas. And that is all I have for the Commissioner's report.
Thanks so much, Scott. Are there questions? Those are some unbelievable numbers that you've passed on there as far as growth estimates, and certainly some challenges. So thank you. And I was remiss in not pointing out that the report from which Scott was speaking was provided in the that bigger combined document that was sent out a couple of days ago to everyone, if you'd like to follow along. So, sorry, I didn't say that at the beginning, so hopefully everyone had located that.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. Okay, Julie, we'll move on to Oklahoma, and your report was provided to everyone yesterday in an email from Mary Schooley, if you'd like to have that up and follow along. So Julie, it's all yours.
Sure, I will present, and then if Commissioner Dobbs has additions, he certainly chime in, but I'll be act as our representative today. I'll start with climate as well. As you can see, if everyone has the report, basically we're going back into, pretty big deficits in soil moisture long-term, especially west of the I-44 corridor. So we're expecting conditions to worsen. We've seemingly had some good rain here lately, and I talked with the director of the Oklahoma Climate Center, and he actually had sent me some information on, this actually exacerbates the problem because you've got short-term growth in vegetation. So the vegetation is getting bigger, and then it's going to be, that vegetation will then require more water. So in the end, it actually will pull out more water and exacerbate our soil moisture deficit. So we are bracing. Last year we had record flooding in the state and other parts of the the eastern part of our Oklahoma as well. Arkansas as well. And so it's either drought or flood, and we're seeing a pattern. When I'm out, I talk about the extremes that we're seeing lately, that the NOAA and everyone else is predicting that we're going to see more of these severe drought, going to severe flooding conditions. So I'll talk a little bit about our water plan here in a minute. I thought I'd mention our COVID response. I don't know about the rest of the states, but we certainly are looking long term about how we can do things differently, and some of our more mobile operations through telework and online services and online testing, and kind of optimizing all those little administrative things that we used to run to the bank when we had grant checks and all that coming in that we can do electronically. So I think in the long run, this certainly is going to allow us to free up our time and to hopefully save money in the long run. I mentioned the Oklahoma Comprehensive Water Plan. We are preparing to launch into the next version of the water plan. The Water Board is required statutorily to update that plan every 10 years. So last year, we actually signed a contract with a letter agreement with Corps of Engineers. We've hired, we've signed a contract. Our board approved a contract last month for a kind of a secondary engineering firm, if you will. So we've got an opportunity to not only update our supply, demand, and gap analyses, but this year we're going to emphasize kind of more of the entire spectrum of water infrastructure. So not only public drinking water and wastewater reclamation, but we really want to tie in, flood infrastructure needs, storage. Storage is critical for both drought and flooding. And as every other state, we are seeing the age of our dams increase year after year. So there's a lot of rehabilitation need in the state, as with everyone else. So we're really wanting to combine not only the drought and the water supply planning, but also the flooding and the large infrastructure need to cover that. So we will host a stakeholder public engagement process this year again, as we did in the 2012 plan. This process will really be focused on economic development groups. So we really want to hear about where in the state, these economies are growing, and what kind of water they need to really be able to plug them in and let them understand that, without water, you certainly can't grow economically. So we're hoping to really tie in more visualization of how water dependent our economic development and growth are in the state. We passed, the Water Board requested a bill, Oklahoma Senate Bill 1269, to direct the state, the Water Board, to create a state flood resiliency plan. So we're really excited about this legislation. The legislature was completely on board, with this record flooding last year that was really destructive to our state. We are glad to have that on the books. So it basically directs us to create a statewide flood mitigation plan, and it also creates a revolving fund. Did not come with funding, but it allows us to go after other funding. So we've been speaking with FEMA. They have a lot of funding. Actually, this afternoon we're meeting with the Colonel of the Tulsa District, so we'll be talking with them about their flood funding, not only planning assistance to states, which we use for the Comprehensive Water Plan, but they've got some flood money. They've also got the Yellow Jackets program. So we're really excited to partner with them. We've actually, the more you think about it, the more there's a lot of entities that are that could be involved in this flood resiliency, kind of at a what you're talking about, a local, state, and federal level. So we've been in discussions with the Oklahoma Floodplain Managers Association, which is a very healthy organization, very strong here in Oklahoma. Oklahoma Emergency Management, it will be involved. FEMA, Conservation Commission, the Department of Commerce through their community development block grants, Oklahoma Department of Transportation, the Corps, and NRCS. So we're really excited to be able to there's a lot of folks doing a lot of things out there in the flood realm, and we're excited to bring all the activities into one document to really focus on, to hand over to our legislature, hopefully, eventually, a list, a real inventory of our flood control infrastructure needs out there. So we're really excited about that. I've got a paragraph here on in-stream flow. We have, just to update you, I've talked about this in-stream flow work group that was part of our last water plan. We actually funded a study that was completed last year. We got that group back together. Really, there was, as everyone knows, in-stream flow is consumptive versus non-consumptive use is just not something that the folks can agree on, depending on which side of the argument they're on. But there was no consensus, but I think most of the members agreed that really assessing the potential economic impacts of for various scenarios that promote consumptive versus non-consumptive use is really warranted, and that will really help when we're looking at parts of the state that are dependent on non-consumptive use. Really understanding, what part of that economy that's affecting, and those stream flows, and looking at ways that we can benefit consumptive users. So things like, exploring opportunities for increasing storage, for instance, or, implementing conservation measures so that we can stretch those water supplies and meet the consumptive users' needs, as well as promoting those recreational needs. So we're not there yet, but there's been a lot of interest in the legislature, and I can foresee that we will certainly continue this discussion in hopefully in a productive manner. Last year, the governor and the Oklahoma Secretary of Energy and Environment, the Water Board, DEQ, and the Oklahoma Rural Water Association announced a formal creation of this strategic partnership alliance to assist, to provide technical assistance to in a more coordinated way, if you will, to rural water districts. So we see that there is certainly a need and a deficit in our rural water districts when you talk about funding, when you talk about aging infrastructure, and then also when you talk about workforce turnover. So we're seeing obviously a lot of folks that are been these districts, that created these districts in some cases, that are now retiring and moving on. And so we're working really closely to try to make sure that our rural water systems continue successfully. I mentioned the legislative session. Another bill that was passed is Senate Bill 1875. That's the Oil and Gas Production, Produced Water and Waste Recycling Act. So I've mentioned several years that the Produced Water Working Group that we've hosted to try to figure out how to one, reduce the earthquakes that we were seeing with injection, but two, find a way to reuse that water in a way that in industries in water use sectors that could reuse it cost effectively. So this legislation really clarifies the ownership issue. So when produced water is sold or used, it really it clarifies, when the ownership, when the profits and all that begin and end. So I think that was a necessary language for certain as we move forward in trying to put that produced oil and gas produced water to use. As far as infrastructure program, I did not include our totals, but for the state, but for the Red River Basin, we had, looks like 13 water and sewer projects totaling a little over $45 million. So that's quite a good investment. I will mention our dam safety program. I know several people have been interested in that. Last year, the dam safety program contracted with Applied Weather Association associates in coordination with Arkansas, Louisiana, and Missouri state dam safety programs to complete a regional potable probable maximum annual yield study. So with this information, we were able to basically replace the published data for spillway design for precipitation values that was published by the National Weather Service in 1978. So we've updated those numbers, we've promulgated rules for that, and basically this will basically reduce the number of overbuilds, if you will, that we're requiring, so that it'll be less costly and these dams will be built appropriately. So that was very positive from the dam safety program. I think with that, I will end my report if I can yield to questions.
Great, thanks, Julie. Guess ask Commissioner Dobbs if you have anything that you would like to add.
I think Commissioner Cunningham is giving great thought, insight, analysis to the water issues and presentation of Oklahoma. She's covered most of our issues and concerns to the committee. Thanks.
Great. I agree. She does a great job. Anybody else from Oklahoma have anything to add? Great. Thanks, Julie. Appreciate the update. And next we will move on to Louisiana. Commissioner Landry, I don't know that I saw a written report. If it was provided, let me know if I just overlooked something.
No, Sue, we do have a report and we will be sending it to you shortly after the meeting, but we have not submitted it yet. But I would report on two or three issues with Louisiana. As Ed mentioned yesterday in the engineering report, Louisiana is deeply involved right now with the Louisiana Watershed Initiative. For those who don't know what that is, Louisiana was awarded $1.2 billion from HUD, and that's based on the 2016 floods that we had, March of 2016 in the northern part of the state primarily, and in August of 2016 in south central and southeast Louisiana. So we've been in the process for the last couple of years of identifying what we're planning to do is to model hydraulic computer models for the entire state, 59 Hook 8 watersheds. And what we've done is broken out the state into 7 regions. And this past year, in the last 6 months or so, we've awarded contracts. We've recently awarded contracts to 7 modeling firms. And I guess the ones that are primarily of interest for this commission would be Region 1, which is the northwestern part of the state, where the Red River slices through that area around Shreveport and Bossier City. Atkins, is the contractor, is the consulting firm who's going to be doing the modeling in that region. In Region 2 is north central Louisiana, and Freese and Nichols is the modeling consultant for that one. And in Region 3 is northeast Louisiana, which is Wood Consultants. All 3 of these firms have significant modeling experience in those particular regions. And I bring up those 3 particular regions because all 3 of them extend up into Arkansas. And so we will be reaching out to Arkansas officials soon to discuss the modeling efforts that we're going to be making. We're going to be engaging stakeholders, looking for data, looking for existing models that exist in Arkansas and in the northern part of Louisiana. Additionally, in Region 4, that's in the southwestern part of the state. Part of the modeling effort is going to extend out into Texas. So we will be reaching out to Texas as well. I will mention in Region 1, in addition to Arkansas, there is a portion of the state of Texas that we will be doing a little bit of modeling for Region 1 as well. So for Texas, both Regions 1 and 4 will be reaching out to Texas officials and stakeholders and officials of those 2 particular regions. The status right now, we've recently signed contracts with all of the consultants. We're issuing a task order. The first task order should be issued in August, and that task order is for about $3.5 million for the entire state. So it's only about a $400,000 task order per region, and it's primarily going to be stakeholder engagement. It's going to be a little bit of data acquisition, again, looking for where models are existing, and to start a little bit of the surveying. The actual modeling effort will probably begin December, January of this year, and we're looking to spend about 2 years to do the modeling effort, to model the entire state over a 2-year period. And hopefully we can identify some projects that will assist us with flood mitigation efforts. We had about 145,000 structures that were flooded during the 2016 floods of March and August in Louisiana. So it's a huge project. It's a huge program. Like I said earlier, $1.2 billion. Part of that is flying LiDAR that Ed mentioned yesterday. We've got most of the state flown. As far as the northern part of the state, we should have that LiDAR available in the fall for consultants to start using that for the modeling efforts, but it's going to be available to anyone. if they want to do some modeling, that LiDAR is going to be available to anyone. Part of the initiative as well is to add stream and river gauges across the entire state. We started looking into the existing gauge network, and it's sorely lacking. So part of the effort is going to be to add about 300 new stream and river gauges throughout the state. So that's going to assist us with the modeling effort. Maybe not so much right now, because we're hoping to get the models completed in 2 years, but we're hoping that the information we receive from these gauges will assist us for many years to come. But that's pretty much it for the Louisiana Watershed Initiative. I will say, as Ed reported yesterday about the status of the stream flows at the Arkansas Louisiana state line, we've been pleased for the last couple of years with the flows, the sufficiency of the flows. The Bayou Bartholomew met compact requirements. Bayou Macon, we're satisfied with that. The Buff River has experienced a decrease in deficient flows with only 27 days below the Red River compact specifications. I will say that we still remain concerned about the flows at the border due to the inability to calculate potential runoff. And I would ask that Michelle Hall here with Louisiana's legal, along with the other people on the legal committee, identify how Arkansas can enforce compliance of the provisions of the Red River Compact at the Louisiana and Arkansas border. But overall, generally, we've been pleased for the last couple of years with the flows coming down into Louisiana. Talking about the environmental report, I'll briefly touch on that. In November 20th of 2019, the 2018 Louisiana Water Quality Integrated Report was approved by EPA with 6 deferred actions for dissolved oxygen on 6 subsegments. The deferrals resulted in changing the 6 original assessment of full support for dissolved oxygen back to the 2016 assessments of impaired. All 6 assessments will be reevaluated during 2020. The water quality overall for rivers in the compact has remained acceptable. So we're really happy about that. One last thing that I would mention about the environmental portion, the situation in the Sparta Aquifer, which is located in the area of the Red River Compact in north central Louisiana, remains mostly static. The USGS reported recently some significant recovery towards overall regional sustainability, but there are still some areas with cones of depression that require continued monitoring and reporting according to the Office of Conservation's Area of Groundwater Concern directives. With that, I'll conclude the report. Sue, as I mentioned, we will submit a written report to you shortly after the meeting. If anybody has any questions about the Watershed Initiative or anything else on the report, please let us know. But other than that, that concludes Louisiana's report.
Great. Thank you so much, Commissioner Landry. Are there any questions directly for this portion of the report? Guess I would ask whether Commissioner Moore has anything he would like to add.
I'm trying to get unmuted here. I don't have anything else to add. I will say the Watershed Initiative funding that we have received, we are hopefully going to be putting that to some really good use for some long needed improvements to the gauge structure in Louisiana. That's one of the things this money can be used for, and we're very welcoming of it.
Great, thank you. And actually, that was something I did have a question about. I guess you mentioned the ability to maybe add as many as 300 gauges. Will that be done via the USGS, and they'll be full USGS gauges, or will you then run a statewide network, sort of more independently, if you will?
Sue, we've been in discussions with USGS, and they've been involved with us. We're still working through those details, but it will be part of their network. However, we're not exactly sure. They're not sure that they can accept the 300 gauges and do all of the maintenance that's going to be required down the road. So the Watershed Initiative is in conversation with them. It's an active conversation. There may have to be money set aside for maintenance of those gauges by a third party, unless we can work out some sort of agreement with USGS to take them over into their system. But we are dealing with them quite a bit. They're very well aware of what we're proposing to do, and they're very supportive of our efforts.
Well, that's fantastic. 300 gauges is a lot. So that's congratulations on getting that initiative. That's
well, once we started reviewing the number of gauges that we currently have within the state, we quickly realized that there's some Huck 8s that have no gauges at all, and so there's some areas that have a significant number of gauges, which is a good thing, but for the majority of the state, we're very, very lacking in the number of stream and river gauges, and so we're making that concerted effort to add 300 plus gauges.
Great. Well, we look forward to hearing an update at the annual meeting, if not before. So thanks so much for that report. Any other questions for Louisiana? Okay, hearing none. Commissioner Ward, we will turn to you. And for those of you looking at the combined, it's attachment N, as in never, is Arkansas's report. So Commissioner Ward, it's all yours.
Great. Thank you, Chairman Lowry. And again, Wes Ward from the Arkansas Department of Agriculture. I've been serving as our state's Secretary of Agriculture for the last 5 years. It's a pleasure to join all of y'all for my first meeting with the Red River Compact Commission, and just an interesting introduction to be doing it virtually. I wish we were doing it in person. It would be great to see everybody's faces and get to meet everybody, but look forward to doing that in the near future. Very pleased and honored to be able to join Commissioner Gibson from Arkansas as well. But do want to present our report, and as the chairman mentioned, it is included as part of the packet. And so with that, was able to join the committee meetings yesterday, got to listen in for most of those, and do just appreciate all of everyone's work on those committees, but in particular, our folks from Arkansas that have been putting a lot of work into that, with Ryan Benefield, Ken Brazil, Sean Jackson, Michael Bynum, and also very thankful to have Jen Sheehan from Arkansas Game and Fish Commission join us as well. As was mentioned last year in the Red River Compact Commission annual meeting, as well as in our report for this year, Arkansas has been going through a transformation phase over the last year, really year and a half. And so with that, the Governor's Transformation and Efficiencies Act of 2019, which took effect on July 1st of 2019, brought over the Natural Resources Commission and Natural Resources Division within the Arkansas Department of Agriculture. So part of that effort was really just to make sure that that government was operating effectively and efficiently. Not saying that it wasn't in the past, but just an effort to combine some like-minded and like-serviced state agencies and departments into one, so that we can better work together. So I'm really excited about that. Excited about what the governor's doing there for the efficiency efforts, and very pleased to be working a lot closer with our natural resources folks within the state of Arkansas to move forward in the same direction and accomplish great results. So this year's report touches a little bit about that. The first page touches on the transformation of state government in Arkansas. Also within that report, I'll just go through just kind of the bullet points of what's within our commissioner report for this year and touch on just a couple of those as well. So we talk about transformation of state government in Arkansas. We also talk about the REACH 4 Sub-Basin 2 compact compliance. Within that is the 2019 BEF River Monitoring Report, 7 summary conclusions included within the commission report. But in particular, just wanted to note that Arkansas's interpretation and policy position on compliance remains unchanged in that real-time monitoring of BEF river flows, evaluation of weekly, seasonal, and multi-year flow patterns, and annual reporting to the Red River Compact Commission is an acceptable approach and framework to identify flow anomalies and inform compliance decision-making. Also within the report is some additional highlights, in particular the Mississippi River, Gulf of Mexico Hypoxia Task Force. And so very excited about the work that they're doing and increased efforts on that front. And Arkansas should be, depending on how coronavirus continues to play out, should be holding that next meeting in Northwest Arkansas, hopefully later this year. Also included is an update on Arkansas water management. In particular, it notes that Arkansas has the second highest groundwater use in the country. In particular, Eastern Arkansas and some of our row crop production part of the state has seen some increasing groundwater decline there. And we know that that's something that we've got to address. And we do believe that increased water conservation and development of excess surface water in this region, in particular Eastern Arkansas, is vital to sustain groundwater supply and use through 2050 and beyond. We do have adequate rainfall each year, most years, and so we do believe that we can use some of that excess surface water to help resolve that groundwater decline issue. In particular, we also point out the Union County Water Conservation Board and their success story and the reduction in use resulted in a reversal of Sparta aquifer declines and eliminated the threat of imminent aquifer collapse. So some success stories there that we've seen in Arkansas that we're trying to replicate in other parts of the state, in particular for our agriculture and row crop production. Also included is an update on Arkansas tax incentives for conservation, as well as Arkansas Unpaved Roads Program, and it identifies some recent activities within the counties in the Red River compact area of Dallas and Calhoun County in Arkansas. The Unpaved Roads Program was part of that transformation of state government effort and brought that under the Department of Agriculture, and so we're excited to see that moving forward. We're having some really increased efforts right now in the northern part of Arkansas in the Buffalo River watershed with the Unpaved Roads Program. It's getting a lot of really good and positive attention from external stakeholders as well as our Arkansas legislature on the benefits of that program, and look forward to continuing to see that grow here within the state. Also included is Arkansas Water Development Update, which touches on the water, sewer, and solid waste projects supported by the Natural Resources Division through federal and state low-interest loan and grant programs. So with that, Madam Chairman, that's the Commissioner's report for Arkansas, but I do want to say again just how honored I am to be able to participate with this group and join our colleagues from Louisiana and Texas and Oklahoma, and all those that are participating in the meeting today. And also very thankful to join Mr. John Gibson from Arkansas as well. And so I would like to turn it over to him for any additional comments or thoughts that he may have from the Arkansas perspective.
Thank you, Secretary Ward. No, you did a very good job. I do not have anything to add. It seems that the last few years, my personal observation, that we've had more than adequate rainfall to maintain the flows at the state line. Our main concern is during planting time, we're flooded out in a lot of areas around the main stem of the bayou. That's given us a lot of problems, caused a lot of damage. I think that our feral hog program, I'm not sure where we are on that, but I think we're making efforts in trapping the feral hogs. We've had a serious problem with feral hogs, I know, all across South Arkansas. And I personally don't know how we have, where we are right now on that, but I think it's we're in position of improvement. That's all I have. But very good report, Secretary Ward.
Yeah, and I will just make appreciate those comments, Commissioner Gibson. I will just make a quick comment about the feral hogs. That has been a focus of effort here in Arkansas, and I know that the USDA NRCS presentation is going to cover some of those efforts with the 2018 Farm Bill Feral Hog Pilot Program. So Arkansas is participating in that. Received funding from USDA to help implement that, and something we're spending quite a bit of time on. The Arkansas Department of Agriculture hired our first ever feral hog coordinator for the state within the department, and also working very closely with Jennifer Sheehan and the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission, as well as an Arkansas Feral Hog Task Force to really have a comprehensive but collaborative approach with all of our stakeholders within Arkansas to address the growing feral hog concerns. But to Commissioner Gibson's point, certainly Southwest Arkansas, we get a lot of phone calls from that area from individuals with feral hog damage impacting agricultural operations and others. And so it's a significant problem, and it's going to require some additional and consistent work to help address it.
Well, I have nothing else to add. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much for that, that very thorough report, and lots going on, and appreciate the update on sort of the reorg. Had kind of caught bits and pieces of that, but certainly welcome you on board, Secretary Ward. So any questions for Arkansas?
I would like to ask one of Secretary Ward. This is John Michael in Louisiana again. Last year before our meeting, there was I think the study on the Arkansas Red River Commission had been doing on the feasibility of navigation up towards Texarkana had just been completed. Do you have any updates on where that project or any other developments in that?
Sure, and I know Mr. Rontoli may want to touch on that as well, but we have had some conversations with legislators and other stakeholders within that area, and things were really looking, I thought, pretty positive. And so there were some asks that were intended to take place within our fiscal session that happened earlier this year, and of course, as everyone knows, that's when the coronavirus hit, and so Arkansas did have some inclinations of trying to move that forward, but then everything's just really kind of been put on halt during the current time because of fiscal issues, really, just to be blunt about it. And so I do hope that we can recover from the coronavirus sooner rather than later. Hopefully, some of those budget and fiscal issues can be turned around and addressed, and then maybe not have the negative impact that people have been anticipating. But hopefully we can move that forward in the near future.
Would you like me to comment for you? Wes, did you want me to make a comment on that?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just a quick update. A number of years ago, Arkansas gave the Arkansas Red River Commission $1 million to work with Vicksburg to identify the benefits for one last effort. We've been working on this for a while. So they did that with contributed funds, and the result was for 2 locking dams above Shreveport, which would put it to Garland, it was a 1.8 benefit cost ratio just on commercial navigation, and 1.2 to Fulton. So the Corps of Engineers approved the continuation and completion of the feasibility study, and it would be about a $3 million 3-year study. So Arkansas was going to come up with $1.5 million, and since Locking Dam 6 would be just north of Shreveport with all the benefits to Louisiana, we met with a number of agencies, cities, and parishes down here. They all agreed to cost share the other $1.5 million, and they were all positive. And of course, like Mr. Ward said, when we got into this fiscal issue, everybody's in a financial bind, so we're just going to have to wait until we get out of this and people have funding for it. But it was very positive benefit cost, and we just hope soon to get back on track for the feasibility study. Thank you.
So Chairman Lowry, I have one question as well for Secretary Ward, if I may. On your Arkansas tax incentives for conservation program, Secretary Ward, can you elaborate on that a little? How'd that come about? And we're certainly interested here in Oklahoma.
Yeah, we'll be happy to do that. But I may, since it's a new program to me, Ryan Benefield will be able to answer more specific and technical questions than I can. So I don't know if, Ryan, if you want to jump in.
Sure. So that's our tax credit program for mainly from conservation measures to save water quantity or conversion from groundwater to surface water. So we've had that program from some time. We do a tax credit on reservoir construction or land leveling or just any practice where you're converting from groundwater to surface water. We've had it for some time, been pretty successful in some ways. It does have some limits and caps on it, but one thing that's kind of exciting is last full session, they allowed those to be transferable. So that we think is going to really increase that program as now, a lot of times farmers would not need the tax credit. They didn't have the tax liability necessary to benefit from the tax credit. But now that they can transfer and sell those credits, we're hoping to see a big increase. But yeah, it's a pretty good program that we're hoping to promote more. Like I said, Julie, I can get you more details on it and on the mechanics of it. But we've had that program for as long as I've been at Natural Resources. We do have a $10 million cap, but we're only hitting about $1 million a year now. So we have a lot of room. We can still go before we hit our tax credit cap on that program. But it's been really great. But mainly it's reservoir construction, land leveling, or any of those practices that are going to conserve water, or like I said, just true traditional conversion from groundwater to surface water. It also, I should note, it has greater limits and better effectiveness in what we call our critical groundwater counties. So those areas that are designated as critical, mainly in East Arkansas, the caps and the ability to, the caps on the tax credit have gone up significantly. And we've also recently extended it where you could take that tax credit over a longer period of time. But we're always trying to improve that program. We'd love to get to that. Well, we'd like to get to 9,999,000. We don't want to get to 10, but we want to get all the way up as high as we can.
Excellent. Thank you, Brian.
Okay, good discussion. Any other comments or questions related to any of the state reports? Okay, good. I might take just a quick chair's prerogative, I guess, and just ask Rich if you'd like to highlight anything else out of your report. Now might be a good time to transition to that. Appreciate you adding some comments there during the Arkansas report, but if there's other things you'd like to highlight, and I would just point out that Rich's written report is attachment Q, as in Queen. So Rich, turn it to you.
Well, thank you. Just a couple other things to highlight. As far as navigation to Shreveport from the Mississippi River to Shreveport, that's going well. After this last high water spring, the Vicksburg district has had to dredge. They're actually started down at Lock 1. They're in Pool 4 and should be complete navigation all the way to Caddo Bossier in the next 2 weeks. The navigation will be open all the way to Caddo Bossier. We did have in the 2015 floods in the Shreveport Bossier area, we had higher crests with lower flows as compared to the 1990 flood. So Vicksburg District got funding to do a sedimentation and hydraulic surveys. They have completed models, and this is all going to work well with the Louisiana Watershed Initiative. In August, they plan on coming over here. We created a flood technical committee to address this issue of higher crests with lower flows, and they will brief us in August on their completed models and what they found, why it happened, and maybe some potential fixes or what we can do to reduce the risk. And after that, we will do public meetings and present the information to the community leaders and then public meetings. We talked about the navigation into Arkansas. There's also a group for navigation from Texarkana to Denison Dam. The state legislatures of Texas had actually given the authority to the Red River Authority of Texas to be a local sponsor for that particular stretch. The North Texas COG, Council of Governments, has put up $500,000. We've had meetings with the Tulsa District. We found in a 1989 study that navigation is feasible in that stretch. We just don't know the full economics. So Tulsa has agreed to do a planning assistance to states study to update the economics. We have the funding to cost share that. Right now, we're just working out the scope of work on what that will entail. And we're hoping within the next couple of months, Tulsa needs to find their share, 50%. We have the 50% on hand. So we just hope to get that particular study looked at pretty soon. And the other thing in the valley, way out in the west, is the chloride control project with the high chloride salt content in the river. A private company, GEM, has been trying to do solar pond projects to actually use the high chlorides to create solar ponds and electricity. They feel they have funding to do a pilot program. They're putting that together now so they can at least prove the technology works. They're going to do it out at Truscott Lake, which is a core brine lake where they've been collecting brine from other sources in the area. And so they feel if they can prove that that'll work, they'll get a lot more partners on board to expand that project, and even into the sections in Oklahoma where there's high chlorides coming into the river to do that. So we're hoping GEM could get on board later this year and at least do a pilot program to prove the technology. Those are the main issues that I have to add. Of course, my report is added, and anybody's welcome to contact me. I'll be glad to provide additional information. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Rich on the work of his association? Okay, great. Thanks for that update. Appreciate it. So let's jump back to the committee reports. Had some good discussions yesterday. But we'll just go in the order on the agenda, which the budget committee. So either Scott or Ryan, you can lead us through that discussion.
Thank you, Chairman Lowry. I'd like to thank Ryan Benefield for putting together the proposed budget. The committee was able to talk for a little while yesterday to discuss, so I'll just go through it. The 2021 proposed budget covering July 1st, 2020 through June 30, 2021. Anticipated cash balance as of July 1st, 2020 will be $24,505. The certificate of deposit on March 16, 2020 of $11,277.24. Proposed budget receipts take the annual dues of the 4 states at $550 per state, $2,200. Total funds available, $37,982.24. And take the proposed budget expenditures, immediate expenses at $5,000, office supplies expenses at $2,500, the contingency at $16,000, with a total expenditure of $23,500. If we used the whole thing, we would have a balance of $14,482.24. Are there any comments, questions regarding the budget, proposed budget? If not, I recommend the commission adopt the 2021 proposed budget with no changes.
Okay, thanks, Scott. I'd entertain a motion to approve the budget as presented.
This is Commissioner Moore. I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Commissioner Cunningham.
Okay, thanks, Julie. Any questions, any comments? Many thanks to you, Scott, and to Ryan for putting that together. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, thank you. The budget for FY21 has passed. Is there anything else from the budget committee? I guess any assignments? I guess I can't think of any, but just to make sure. Okay, hearing none, why don't we go ahead and move on to the legal committee, and Heather, I'll turn the time to you for your report.
Thank you, Chairman. So the legal committee considered the mechanisms that Arkansas has at hand, or what it could put into place, and what it would need to enact in order to sufficiently enforce against possible future noncompliance if there were noncompliance with the terms of the compact. And that work included several conference meetings that we had during the year since the last year's meeting. Two of the legal committee's members that were the most involved and had the most to say at those discussions represented Louisiana and Arkansas, and they have been replaced by new members this year. But there were some written products sort of just discussing what occurred during our discussions, and those are included in the papers for this meeting. That was a memo from Louisiana's former legal representative summarizing the committee's work, an earlier memo from Arkansas's legal representative summarizing the Arkansas's current legal situation for enforcement, and then a final email from the current Arkansas legal representative clarifying their position. And what was, by and large, what was discussed, as I said, was what mechanisms they have now, whether federal water rights could be understood to include compact water requirements, and how an allocation order could be entered into. And with that in mind, we considered the current White River allocation plan that Arkansas has put into place. That's the only one that they've ever issued, and that's entirely internal to Arkansas. It's not within states as the compact as the Red River is. And with that, that's all I have to report. If any of the other legal committee members might have comments.
This is Michelle Hall from Louisiana. The only comment I have is that the Commissioner for Louisiana, Pat Landry, just mentioned in his report that he does want the legal committee to continue its work on this issue.
I guess, Michelle, I guess if you could maybe state for us an action item that you feel would be appropriate to assert to the legal committee, then the rest of the commissioners could consider giving that as an action item assignment to the committee.
All right, this is Louisiana recommends that the legal committee identify how Arkansas can enforce compliance of the provisions of the Red River Compact at its border.
Great. Okay, thank you for that, Michelle. I guess any comments either from the other members of the legal committee or the commissioners? And I don't know if we've actually taken formal motions on these actions, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, Ms. Lauer, this is Michael Bonham. The only recommendation I would make to add to that request would just be to clarify, to find a way for Arkansas to comply with the compact in instances of non-compliance. So just to make it more clear.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. So again, I don't know that we've actually done this through formal motion before. I think it's been more just a recommended assignment to the committees. I would just ask if there are any commission members who are not comfortable with this continuing work of the legal committee.
I'm not sure it would take a motion, but that sounds like an issue that should be researched and an opinion rendered on. So I would go ahead and move that we instruct the legal committee to do that.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Gibson, is there a second?
Sounds
I'll
like
second.
that.
I'll second that. This is Mr. Moore.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to make a more formal assignment to the legal committee to continue to explore this issue of Arkansas authorities and capabilities for compact compliance. So any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And I would note that Commissioner Landry did get pulled away to another meeting, so we will let the minutes reflect that he has now left the meeting. But Commissioner Moore, we still have you on board. So
I'm still here.
great, perfect. Thank you. Okay, anything else for the legal committee? Moving on to engineering, Scott, we'll turn it back to you.
Sure, thank you. The engineering committee met for an hour yesterday with the majority of reporting consisting of updates. Texas and Oklahoma gave updates on water permits and dam safety. Texas also gave updates on reservoir levels and stated that current stream flows in the basin were normal to above normal. Oklahoma discussed their PMP study that can now be used for new design standards for new dams and a review tool for existing dams. Arkansas gave an overview of the Beth River assessment and the difficulty in finding patterns or correlations within the assessment results. Arkansas recommended continued monitoring, evaluation, and reporting of Beth River flows and Subbasin 2 compliance through NRD's annual report. Louisiana discussed their Watershed initiative and LIDAR program to model watersheds across the state and gave updates on flows. Both Arkansas and Louisiana mentioned the ongoing struggle to accurately estimate a weekly runoff and come up with a number that everyone could accept. Both states stressed the importance of continued collaboration and discussions. That's all I have for the engineering committee report. If any other committee members would like to elaborate or add anything, please feel free.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
Yes, ma'am.
I guess I did have in my notes that this groundwater listing, is that anything that should be noted?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I had in my notes that there was some discussion between Louisiana and Arkansas concerning a groundwater, I guess just listing or inventory.
I'm not sure, maybe one of those states could elaborate.
I don't remember a listing. I do recall conversations yesterday during that meeting about Arkansas's well surveys that they were doing. They had started a program on surveying groundwater wells.
This is that during the engineer committee yesterday, we had inquired about where we were in terms of getting well data from Arkansas in the vicinity of the Beth I think we had made a request in 2018 for all that data, and there's some technical issues I believe Arkansas was dealing with to do that, and we're just trying to get closer to receiving that data. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ed, for that update. So sounds like there's action there that doesn't necessarily need the commission to weigh in. Is that a fair statement? And I guess would just note that it sounds as though the engineering committee and the legal committee have been working quite closely together. So even though the assignment was made to the legal committee, I would anticipate them reaching out to the engineering staff on any matters of technical concern. So any other questions for the engineering committee members? Okay, hearing none, let's move on to the Environment and Natural Resources Committee. Scott, back to you.
Okay. The Environmental Committee also met for about an hour yesterday afternoon. Texas reported on their ongoing zebra mussel problems within the basin, as well as the success of their Clean Rivers program and surface water quality monitoring program. Arkansas discussed the changes between their 2016 and 2018 303D listings and the additions in the Red River Basin to the Category 5 designations. The report also included a discussion on non-point source management impacts, list of DEQ waters within the state, and TMDL prioritization. Oklahoma reported on the Beneficial Use Monitoring Program, the BUMP program, as well as their GMAP groundwater monitoring program. Oklahoma also mentioned updating their biocriteria and working with the EPA Science Network. Louisiana reported on their 2018 integrated report and stated the 2020 report was in progress. They also stated in general water quality has remained unchanged. The meeting ended with the representatives from Oklahoma reminding the committee of a discussion last year regarding the mapping of 303D listings for the Red River Basin. It was decided that this may be a discussion during the interim to figure out if this project is something that we could actually produce, and if we could, would there be a benefit in doing so? And that is all I have.
Great, thank you. Any other members of that environmental committee that would like to make a comment? Okay, and Scott, I did note the this combined 303D mapping effort. Is that anything you'd like kind of direction from the commission? It sounds like maybe the committee's just still got that on their own list of tasks.
We kind of, no one was sure if anybody had made an action on it last year, and but we know we had talked about it, so we just kind of left it up in the air. Maybe getting in a call in the interim and discussing if this is even a doable project.
Okay, so maybe the minutes can just reflect that the commission is supportive of the committee continuing to explore this mapping effort and its, I guess, doability, yes, for lack of a better word.
That sounds good. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Laura, yeah.
Yes, I would just like to update that the Caddo Lake Institute has been acquiring water quality data every month for the last 20 years in Caddo Lake and Big Cypress Bayou, and our chemist recently compiled the results of the trend data, and it's all quite positive. The overall water quality has improved significantly, especially pH and reductions in phosphorus. That was due to collaborative efforts with TCEQ and TPWD and the Northeast Texas Municipal Water District and the Caddo Lake Institute. So there's been good progress on water quality.
Great, thank you for that update. And I did note, Michael, I apologize that I had not updated the legal committee list until last night with your name, but I have now made that update. And Michelle, have you on the legal committee? I guess other than those two changes, are there any other committee membership changes that the states would like to make? to any of the 4 committees? Okay, hearing none, but if any of those change throughout the year, please just send me a quick email and I'm happy to make those updates. Maybe just do a quick check-in. We've been at this for not quite 2 hours. Would everybody like to take maybe a 10-minute break before we start the federal reports? Not hearing anything, or do we just want to carry on?
I'm fine either way, carrying on, or if someone wants to take a break, that's fine too.
I just had my battery run down on my iPad. So I may have to take about 2 or 3 minute break myself. Y'all could carry on though.
Okay, well, speaking personally, I could stand to refill my coffee cup, and so why don't, let's see, I have 9:14 Mountain Time, so let's come back at 25 past the hour, so 10:25 for those of you on Central Time. So we'll just stay connected here, but if you need to step away and grab a cup of coffee, feel free, and we'll resume at 10:25. Thank you.
What? Hmm? That 3? Wonder why. She may be outside. Hmm? I heard the lid fall. I'm not sure it fell as much as it picked it up. The girl heard it. The girl crazy. Doesn't like what? But I think that scared them off too. So we're gonna get it tonight. We'll tag team. Well, this is the way to build that. 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock. We'll get back there and we'll let them can see us. We can hear it. And then everybody's gonna have a job. Somebody's gonna hold the light, somebody's gonna take the dog out here with this bill so it doesn't bark. I'm gonna shoot. That's right, I don't. I can get the shotgun, definitely. Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of dogs and hip problems. No, don't do that. Put that in the trash can. In the trash. Y'all go outside with your mom. Well, you go with your mom. Look, let's go outside. Let's go see. Come on. Let's go see mom. Let's go see what we can see. Okay. Come on. Come on, champ. Champ. Hey, champ. Really, champ? Come on, champ. I like you.
Now watch. Go.
Mm-hmm.
You know what he's going to do.
Hmm.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. And let me okay, let me get I apologize that maybe we don't have all of the federal reports ready to be served up. So let me take just a quick second and forward on. I apologize here, just a second.
Sue?
Yes, I believe we also had a presentation from the Corps of Engineers and from Bureau of Reclamation, but I can ship those to James. Maybe we should start with NRCS.
Did we have them in a PowerPoint format?
Well, they're as a PDF, but I guess I just thought that it would still be good to project that just so people have it on the screen as they're working their way through the PDF.
We had received a PowerPoint and a PDF version from NRCS, and so I think James had put up the PowerPoint version of that. We have that one ready to go, but we didn't have a PowerPoint version of the other ones. But James, can you make the other versions of those available just as PDFs by screen?
Yes, I can do PDFs.
Okay.
And do you have those, James? I think I copied you with the email this morning that the Bureau of Reclamation and the
Yeah, I think I have those. Let me go ahead and get those pulled up.
let me make sure that perhaps the one from the Corps of Engineers didn't get forwarded to you. But I can do that quickly. So sorry for this.
I have Bureau of Reclamation.
And I am just now forwarding you an email from Mike Abadi that will have the Corps of Engineers.
Awesome.
And then James, you already have the PowerPoint for NRCS, correct?
Correct.
And then the US Geological Survey, that attachment was just a 2-page memo, I believe. Is that right?
I'm sorry, which one is that?
The item 9C, the US Geological Survey, I believe that was just a 2-page memo. Is that correct, Sue?
That was my understanding, yeah. And
so
then
we
we
won't
get down to that one. So
we won't put that one up on the screen.
Right.
I don't have that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that one had a presentation. It was just a memo, correct?
Right, and it's part of the big packet that got sent. So I think everybody's got that probably. So,
This is Nathan Cooner of the Reclamation. I apologize if I missed this earlier, but would it be easier if we just share our own screen when we're going through our PDF or PowerPoint?
We can do that.
But I can do either way. I was just going to scroll through the PDF, and I thought maybe it might be easier if I just share my screen.
Okay.
and I guess Louis, do you have a preference? If it's on your screen and ready, we can probably just give you control and go ahead and start with the Corps of Engineers report.
Tim, I think I've got a different version pulled up than what Mike had sent. If Mr. Scoggins could share the one that Mike sent, that would probably be better for mine. If good.
And we are getting some feedback from, I'm not sure who isn't muted, but we are getting some echo.
Probably mine.
Okay. Okay, well, sorry for that little technical glitch there, but so far so good. So, so I guess James, if you have the email that I just sent you from Mike Abadi and could get that PDF up, then I think we could go to Louis Holstead, who is the Operation Project Manager for the Corps of Engineers. And Louis, I'll turn it to you.
Good morning, and thank you, Madam Chairman, and I really appreciate the opportunity for you and the other board members for allowing us to provide the Tulsa District Corps of Engineers update to the Compact Commission today. My name is Louis Holstead, and I am the Operations Project Manager for the Texoma area, which is for the Upper Red River projects. As you stated, Mr. Abadi, our Chief of Civil Works for our Project Planning and Management Division, sends his regards today. He had another meeting that conflicted with this one, but I'm very proud and privileged to be here with you all today. So whenever James is ready, we can go forward here.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, what am I bringing up for you?
It's the Corps of Engineers update.
Okay.
And James, I just sent it to you, so it would be the attachment that was from the Mike Abadi email that I just sent to you. And if it'll take you a while to find that, maybe we should move to the Bureau of Reclamation.
I got it. Just give me just a second.
Sure, no problem.
All right, we should have it up now.
Okay, and you can go ahead and advance to the next slide if you would, please. So, as everybody can see there's how the projects lay out for the Tulsa District Corps of Engineers on the Red River. The Hugo area projects are highlighted there in yellow, and the green, in the green is the Upper Red River projects. I'm the operations manager for the Upper Red. A gentleman by the name of Joe Custer is the operations project manager for the Lower Red River. Next slide. Well, this slide gives everybody an idea of we always kind of look at the last year, current year, and next year budgets within the Corps. It's kind of how we're always working there. So the slide shows the fiscal year 2019 and 2020 allocations and the fiscal year 2021 President's budget. It was released on the 10th of February 2020. So in 19 there, you can see we received an additional $9.5 million above the president's budget, and our non-routine maintenance was approximately 18.6% of our total allocations. And the non-routine maintenance work is usually those bigger ticket items where we're doing rehabilitation or replacement of some type of infrastructure within the district that are not done on a preventative or a routine type basis or even a reoccurring basis. For this year, 2020, we had received an additional $10.4 million in the work plan above the president's budget, and we will be performing about 17.6% of our total O&M budget for non-routine maintenance. The $2.7 million in construction that you see there that we received in the work plan was to complete the Pine Creek Dam Safety Project. The contractor had requested an equitable adjustment of about $9.8 million over this about 5-year contract that's been ongoing, and our staff was able to negotiate it down to about $2.1 million. The remaining $600,000 there is to repaint the conduit, which was part of this original construction package, as well as update the piezometers. Piezometers are the tubes that are in the embankment that we use to measure hydrostatic pressure on the dam. And so there's some upgrades for those that's going to be completed with that remaining amount of money there. For 21, President's budget, we were going to look to receive about $2.7 million for the Keystone Lake Dam Safety Modification Study, and we have $94.9 million for O&M, and also plan to execute about 12.4% of these funds for non-routine maintenance in 21. We won't know what the work plan amounts are going to be for the 21 budget until after Congress passes those. So, next slide, please. So this slide basically has the same basic data as the previous one did, except this is only for the projects that are in the Red River Basin. In 19, we received a total of $20.9 million in O&M for our Red River projects, and we utilized 7.3% of these funds for that non-routine maintenance, and we'll talk a little bit more about those projects shortly. For this year, our allocation for O&M is $25.7 million, and that includes over $2 million that was included in the work plan. We are planning on using approximately 12.3% of our total allocation for non-routine maintenance. In 21, President's budget has $19.8 million for O&M, and we plan to use about 3.8% of these funds also for non-routine maintenance. Next slide. This slide just gives you an idea of kind of where we sat this morning as far as the Red River Basin lake elevations are concerned. It shows the conservation and the flood pool percentages actually in pretty good shape right now. There's a couple of projects that are a little above normal, but actually really good going into this time of year, especially here at Texoma, where that water can be utilized for hydropower generation there to bring the pool back down. You see the projects that are identified there as Section 7. Those are actually not operated or owned by the Corps of Engineers, but we do operate those once they enter their flood pool. That is the Corps' responsibility. Next slide, please. So this slide shows FY20 Shoreline Management Plan update. We did receive funding this year for updating the Shoreline Management Plan at Lake Texoma. As you can see, we started the kickoff meeting back in October. We had public scoping meetings to get an idea from the public of what they would like to see in regard to the Shoreline Management Plan. Had a meeting both at Bossier, Texas, and in Kingston, Oklahoma, to gather folks from both sides of the state line, if you will. We completed that alternative development workshop in May of 2020, and we have a public meeting scheduled for August of 2020 to start looking at finalizations of the plan. But obviously with COVID-19, we'll have to see how all that goes as far as public meetings go and such as that. But at any rate, the plan still is, you know, to finalize the shoreline management plan and submit it in December of this year. Next slide, please. We're also currently working on updating the Red River Master Water Control Manual, which will include updates for all the projects that we looked at earlier. Our last contract award is actually scheduled for today, and the final updated manual will be completed on 31 May after it goes through all the internal review process there. Most of those manuals were fairly out of date, so this is a very good initiative that we've been able to accomplish this year in conjunction primarily with our hydraulics and hydrology folks in our E&C division. Next slide. There's the non-routine maintenance that we were coming back to just for the Red River projects. You can see the dates in green are the actual dates when those were ready to advertise and can't really talk about the budgets for these right now since we're still actively involved in solicitation for all these contracts. But I can tell you that the total budget for all of this work is a little over $6 million, which is great work, much needed at all of these projects. All these projects actually are in the lower Red River and the Hugo area, but very, very much needed work and very excellent initiatives there to get this accomplished to upgrade and benefit our infrastructure. Next slide. So these are the active non-routine maintenance construction projects that are ongoing. You can see there's one for Texoma and one for Pine Creek. They have been physically completed, so it's just a matter of wrapping these up and making final payments to the contractors on these. They're for a little over $9.5 million there. Another example of excellent initiative and great work that we're getting accomplished on infrastructure where those repairs are much needed. You'll go to the next slide. That pretty well concludes my update. If any of you all have additional questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them now, or if I can't, I will get an answer and get back to you later.
Okay, Louis, appreciate that very much. Are there questions for the Corps of Engineers?
Lou, I don't have a question, but I'd just like to say on behalf of the Red River Authority of Texas, we really appreciate what Mike and Louis are doing up there with the Tulsa District, and we are really getting along with them good and getting a lot of good work done.
Good.
Thank you, Randy. We appreciate that very much.
I have a question, if I may.
Please.
So what is does the Red River Master Water Control Manual update have a public comment period associated with it? And what's the geographic extent of what the manual covers?
Jennifer, if you could you ask that one more time? About a third of that broke up and I didn't understand it all.
Sure, sorry about that. The Red River Master Water Control Manual, does it have a public comment period associated with it? And what's the geographic extent of what the manual covers?
So the geographic extent, Jennifer, is those projects that we showed on the slide deck, pretty much. It's all the Red River projects that have Obviously, not all of those. Some of those, as you heard Mr. Brontoli mention earlier, are chloride control projects. So they're obviously not included with flood risk management or that business line per se. Different purpose altogether. However, many of those are flood projects, and so all of the flood projects listed would be included with this effort. And I'm not 100% sure about the public comment period. I can find that out, and I will get you an answer. I will talk to Mr. Greg Estep, who is the chief of our hydraulics and hydrology branch, who is that group is running this contract for the Corps of Engineers, and I will get you an answer and provide that back to you.
Right, very good. Any other questions for Louis? Okay, thanks so much for pinch hitting for Mike, but sounds like you're in the thick of all of this, so we had the right person. So thanks so much, appreciate it.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Really appreciated being with y'all today.
You betcha. Hopefully we can see each other face to face next year. So good deal.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Nathan, I think we're now ready to hear the update from the Bureau of Reclamation. And I guess I'll leave it to you to ask whether you want James to give you control or to open up the PDF.
Thank you, Commissioner Lowry. I think I'll try to just keep control. I think it might be a little bit easier if I scroll through it. And of course, I'm going to present a PDF document. But just real quickly, again, it's nice to be able to meet you guys virtually, face to face. And I actually joined Reclamation about 4 years ago. Again, I'm out of the Oklahoma City office. We have an Austin, Texas office as well. So I think my predecessor, I believe, was Darian Mayhorn, and then before Darian was, I think, John Gage. So for some of you that have been long-standing members, you know, I'm still frankly trying to kind of get some continuity and try to kind of help regrow our relationship, Reclamation's relationship with the rest of you on this commission. So I'm certainly will be all ears if you have some suggestions, you know, offline, especially on some things that maybe I can do, we can do to maybe kind of coalesce some of our updates and information to make it even more useful for you so that we can kind of grow together. So, and the report that I'm going to share again is a pretty high order general report. Actually, it goes back several years of all of our projects that we've primarily provided funding for, which comprises of planning activities, feasibility studies, engineering, boots on the ground projects, pretty comprehensive, but they all have to do, of course, with coming up with water solutions to ultimately help stretch water supply in the West. So, so that report that I'm going to soon share with you, I'm certainly all ears as well. If you would maybe suggest in the future, if we try to maybe streamline this to make it even more specific just to the Red River boundary basin area. So, with that, I will try to share my screen, and I'm actually, again, kind of in an unfamiliar environment. I'm up here in Illinois, but but hopefully logistics are going to work fine for me to present here. So I'm trying to share my screen right now. Okay, I can see can you all see the title page?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Good, good. So let me see if I can figure out how to scroll. Okay, I'll go back to the original PDF. Okay, bear with me for a second here. see. Okay. All right. So this is going to be a summary of our current and recently completed activities. I'm not going to go into every one of these, obviously, because it's pretty all-encompassing. But you know, we share these with the rest of our compacts that we participate in. And here, of course, you had the PDF that you were emailed earlier this morning. So we'll just kind of go in order of the various programs. And let me just mention as well is that not only do I have contact information here in the PDF if you want to get more information on some of our programs that are applicable to the Red River Basin, but Rich Brontelli of the Red River Valley Association, he's constantly providing updates on all of our funding opportunity announcements. So even if you don't have direct communication with me through the business cards, which I can still secure later, Rich is doing a wonderful job of passing on all the information for all of these various funding programs. So again, reclamation, my office is in Oklahoma City. Between the Oklahoma, Texas area office, we oversee 11 brick and mortar projects, primarily in Oklahoma, a few in Texas, and one in Kansas. You know, these are large reservoir irrigation projects. We provide more than 680,000 acre feet of M&I annually, as well as provide irrigation water. And again, we're all about trying to stretch water supplies in the Western United States. So we're always looking for partnerships and to try to collaborate and try to provide leverage. So one of the very first programs that we administer is a Native American Affairs program. We send out annual funding opportunity announcements. Our area office has quite a direct way to have a lot of control and influence on this particular program. Currently, we have several of the Indian nations that have current projects. Choctaw Nation down in southeastern Oklahoma, Chickasaw Nation in particular are in the Red River Basin area, and they both have existing projects comprised of water well rehabilitation, as well as providing engineering consultation for a bunch of aging water systems in southeastern Oklahoma, so that these smaller utilities can have some consultation on how to maybe make some upgrades and plan for the future. And I go back and list some of the existing Native American Affairs projects. And again, some of these aren't going to pertain to the Red River Basin, but hopefully this will give you a flavor of what some of the projects entail. The Basin Study Program, that very much is all about Red River Basin. A very large program that, you know, we have two ongoing basin studies, the Upper Red River Basin and the Upper Washita Basin. You know, both of these studies have been long-standing studies. They kind of were incepted right around the time the Water Resources Board was finishing up their comprehensive water plan, as well as a major drought that was beginning to unfold. So, you know, these studies are all about trying to conduct supply demand and look at infrastructure and keeping into account climate change that's occurring, to look for innovative solutions, both structural and non-structural adaptive strategies to try to better plan and provide more reliability to the stakeholders in the Upper Washita and the Upper Red River Basin. You know, together, both of these studies, we've put about altogether between partners, the Water Resources Board, Corps of Engineers, a couple of our master conservancy districts. You know, we've already put in over $5 million, and we're looking to wrap these two massive projects up here in the next couple of years. But before we wrap them up, there'll be public stakeholder meetings. Lots of modeling and lots of interagency cooperation that has taken place to date. So applied science grants, this is a new program. It's kind of a spin-off off of the Basin Studies program. Currently, we have 3 ongoing projects, 2 in Oklahoma, 1 in Texas. And I know one of the projects in Oklahoma that was awarded to Oklahoma State University, they're going to be looking at improving seasonal stream flow forecasting on a couple of the irrigation districts in southwestern Oklahoma. I think Lugard Altus is one of the irrigation districts there in the Red River Basin. So we're looking to see if this applied sciences grants project can certainly not only help the district down there, but maybe be leveraged for others within the Red River Basin to be able to apply going forward. Water and energy efficiency grants, we call them WEEG grants. This has been a pretty popular grant program. We've given millions of projects in Texas and Oklahoma since 2010. Currently, the city of Eufaula down in southeastern Oklahoma, they recently received a $1.5 million award to upgrade their infrastructure, replace water lines, service connections, valves, gates, metering. And I know City of Durant down there in Stockdale country, they also received a big award of $1.5 million in FY19 to do some similar type of work. So these WEEG grants are very popular, and for sure take a look at them when you see the FOA to see if maybe you might have a partner, or perhaps you yourself may have a need to maybe apply for one of these WEEG. Kind of a smaller version of the WEEG is called the Small Scale Water Efficiency Grant. We call them SWEPs. A relatively new program, but Oklahoma in particular seems to have a niche in getting awarded for these SWEPs. These grants pretty much are pretty basic. A lot of them really entail basically upgrading your old meters with smart meters. And we have several, again, in the Red River Basin area that have that are currently either administering these SWEP grants or have recently been awarded and have already upgraded their infrastructure. So you can kind of look through all these and get kind of an idea of some of the projects. Moving on real quickly, water marketing. This is another very new project, another grant program under our Water Smart umbrella. And, water marketing, which many of you all well know, is much more common practice out in the Western United States. It can entail projects such as looking into water banking, like groundwater banking, for instance. I know the Chickasaw Nation, they recently were awarded a water marketing grant, and we're going to be very anxious to see how this project unfolds. I'm sure the Water Resources Board as well. I think they're one of the partners on this project. So anyway, that's a very innovative type of non-infrastructure based grant program that I think, again, will be applicable to the Red River Basin stakeholders. The Cooperative Watershed Management Program, we call it QWAMP. Again, this is all about collaboration, bringing in stakeholders in the region to come to the table to figure out what's causing water quality issues and basically the downstream water bodies, and that can also affect water quantity as well. So we have several QWAMP programs that are within the Red River Basin area. Blue River Foundation, they were a recent recipient, and City of Norman as well, and got several in Texas. So again, this is a very stakeholder-based type of program that, again, I think can certainly have some applicability for stakeholders in the Red River Basin. Our Title 16 and desalinization wind programs, these are major funding programs. These are pretty they're pretty important, and they're all about trying to figure out how to further move the needle on water reuse. City of Norman here in Oklahoma was recently awarded a Title 16 program. The Water Resources Board successfully administered a recent Title 16 program. Theirs was more on a feasibility effort, as these Title 16s can comprise feasibility studies, planning studies, research, and actually boots on the ground. So, so definitely keep your eye out for these Title 16 programs because they're pretty massive, they're pretty major, but they certainly have a lot of upside to them for water systems in particular that are looking to do some potential infrastructure upgrades around water reuse. So our drought response program, you know, this can entail both planning studies as well as actual boots on the ground resiliency projects. We've had several awarded in the Red River Basin area. We've had a Mountain Park Master Conservancy District down in southwestern Oklahoma. They're going to be building a well field. City of Altus, Oklahoma, they're in the process of actually doing a drought resiliency project to kind of upgrade and make more resilient their city water supply. So again, look through these as well, both for planning purposes as well as actual engineering improvements. Moving on down, let's see, let's move away from the drought program. Let's see what's next. Our research and development program, our R&D, and under our R&D, we have science and technology. And a lot of the S&T funding is more, it's not so much external funding, but we're able to provide our own engineering expertise to help do things that sometimes our stakeholders, our utilities just don't quite have the resources or time to do, at least directly. So we got several projects again in the Red River Basin area. We have one going on at Foss Reservoir, which is in the upper Ouachita Basin that eventually drains to the Red River. So take a look for these S&T projects as well, and maybe some opportunities here going forward. Our desalinization and water purification research program, we call that DWPR or DWIPR. That's an external research program, and again, it involves desalinization type of activity. So it's usually a pretty major funding amount because it usually entails some pretty heavy-duty pilot projects that usually involve consultant engineers and universities that are able to kind of come in and help kind of manage the boots on the ground field activities. So, and so again, this has been very high order, and I realize that you'll have to kind of take a look at these on your own, but I want you to look through the various links that I've provided that give more information on these various funding programs. Many, again, are under the Water Smart program. And again, every one of these have basically annual FOAs. And Rich, again, is doing a great job of getting them out. But don't hesitate to contact me directly or Collins Balcom, who is the manager of planning and project development and reclamation. And we can get you on our email list and certainly can entertain phone calls and maybe down the road in-person visits to discuss potential projects. So again, I want you can speak up now, and I'm pretty thick-skinned if you have some suggestions or some ideas that you would like to see for reclamation on how maybe we can better communicate and even maybe better condense some of our opportunities that could potentially help stakeholders here in the Red River Compact area. Thank you. Let me unshare my screen here.
Hey, this is Charles Dobbs. I'm with the commissioner from Oklahoma.
Okay. Hi, Commissioner Dobbs.
In the western part of Oklahoma, in the North Fork of the Red River area, the Red River Basin, where Lugard Altus Lake exists, they've had to reduce the impoundment capacity of the lake temporarily. Do you have any estimate of when that issue will be resolved so they go back to having their full impoundment capacity?
Yeah, gosh, again, that would be more of a question that I would need to ask our engineering section. I know that for several reasons, as you well know, Commissioner Dobbs, there's been some infrastructure improvements and some issues that have come up really since spring of 2019. And what I've been told, we're making good progress on those efforts. So I can definitely circle back with you, Commissioner Dobbs, to kind of give you a timeline on what's left to do in order to get that capacity back up to normal.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Great, thanks,
Any additional
Nathan.
questions?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner Lowry. Do I need to unshare my screen here? I got a bunch of different screens up on mine, so I don't want to lock you. Okay, let me see here. Let me try to sorry about this.
There should be a button that just says screen. You just click that and it'll turn it on.
Okay, screen. People can see it. Okay, so I see the go-to. I had the go-to meeting, but it got kind of condensed. So
yeah, it's in the go-to meeting window.
Okay, so I see, of course, I see my microphone. Okay, I see the screen. Okay, there we go.
There you go.
Perfect. Great. Thanks so much, Nathan. Appreciate the reclamation update. Lots of good grant opportunities and good reminder of what projects might fit into what funding potentials. So thanks so much for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, I think we're ready to move on now to the Geological Survey. I believe that was attachment O in the combined document that got sent out. And Jason Lewis, you'll be making that presentation, I think. So welcome and turn it to you.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Madam Chairman and Commissioners. I think we're just going to highlight one project we've got going on in the basin right now. So we've been working on and trying to finish up this 4-year plus internally funded water use and water availability focus area study project on the Red River. We're almost finished, and in fact, we're kind of past our self-imposed original due date, but hope to have most of these wrapped up by the end of this calendar year. Here's some of the projects that this will include, or the final products. Our main thing is we've developed an online data visualization tool at the Huck 8 scale level, and that's going to be a user interactive web page that's going to allow users to toggle between 2 storyboards. One's going to be a PRMS surface water modeling interface, and the other is going to be a user specified water use database, just distribution web page. We're also going to have a data release on all the water use data we use in calculating that web page. Most of the water use data is going to be from 2010 to 2015, and that's also going to be at the Huck 8 scale level. We're going to have a publication that goes over our methods in our PMS modeling and our ecological flow modeling. That's going to be the entire length of the Red River Basin. We're also going to have a data release for the geo-referenced fish collections from 1985 to 2016 from all the multiple agencies that submitted databases for us to use. And that's in our internal colleague review process right now. And the one thing we're going to kind of put a hold on is our groundwater model of the Red River alluvium from Lake Texoma to the upper Red River Basin. Unfortunately, that got really complicated, but we have all the model files stored, and our hope is that we find funding in the future to finish that work. And then lastly, as always, we'd really like to give a big thanks to the Compact for its continued support of the Stream Gauge network. And that's the USGS report. Any questions?
Great. Thanks so much, Jason. Any comments or questions for Jason on this report or anything else the USGS is working on? All right. Thanks, Jason, and thanks to Jen for putting this together. Appreciate it. Okay, I think we're ready to now move on to the NRCS report. And I see Rob has just engaged his camera, so we'll turn it to you, and you and James can figure out how to get your PowerPoint up so folks can see it. Thanks for joining us, Rob.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think James and I had talked, and he's just going to advance it for me. It'd probably be easier. I can't chew gum and talk and walk at the same time anyway, so that'll help. So yeah, well, he's getting that pulled up. So I'm Rob Zier. I'm the Assistant State Conservationist for Partnerships here in Texas for NRCS. And I'm stationed at our Temple State Office. And I'll be visiting with you all today regarding some of our accomplishments through the agency across the 4 states. I've had summary reports or just summary information I'll be presenting from each one. And so I appreciate it. Next slide, please. So for those that don't know us, our agency has been around. We started in the Dust Bowl, and we work with private landowners and operators to provide voluntary conservation technical and financial assistance. Next slide. And we're very proud of that relationship, and through their actions, we're experiencing significant and positive conservation impacts within the Red River Basin. Next, please. So this afternoon or today, I'd like to share with you all a summary of what our accomplishments are through the Farm Bill programs, through initiatives, and through some of our watershed operations. Next, please. NRCS has several conservation programs provided through the Farm Bill. Of these, the Environmental Quality Incentives Program, Conservation Stewardship Program, and our Easements Program provide for the bulk conservation activities. Next, please. Last year in the Red River Basin, over $70 million of NRCS conservation program funds were invested to treat natural resource concerns. Next, please. And then through these programs, we've helped our clients plan practices to affect over 4 million acres of private lands. In Texas, NRCS staff have worked with private landowners to apply conservation practices on 1.6 million acres of land. Next, please. And then although many conservation practices have been applied, this is a list of some of the most commonly applied conservation practices that our farmers and ranchers and landowners and operators have applied. Next. EQIP, or Environmental Quality Incentives Program, it's our biggest program, I'd say. Last year, private landowners and operators utilized over $30 million to implement voluntary conservation practices. Next. Okay, Conservation Stewardship Program. This is another Farm Bill authorized program, and it's designed to help private landowners and operators build on existing conservation while they're also strengthening their operation. And last year, NRCS invested $32.5 million within the Red River Basin for conservation activities. Now, the previous slide I said EQIP was our biggest, which was at 30 million, and this is 32.5 million. But just to clarify, this 35.2 million is over the next 5 years where these practices have been planned. Next, please. Another one of our programs is the Conservation Easements Program. And so in addition to our application of conservation practices, we have invested $621,000 to restore, protect, and enhance wetlands throughout our easements program. Next, please. And also, as was mentioned earlier, NRCS has initiated a pilot program to address feral swine issues, and 4 of these are within the Red River Basin. These projects will be ran by our partners, and currently our national office is in the process of finalizing partner agreements, and we anticipate the projects to be running up here this next fiscal year. Next, please. NRCS, we're very fortunate to work with many great partners, and those partners bring us new ideas and potential initiatives to the table. Next, please. And so one program which is authorized that helps with that is the Regional Conservation Partnership Program, or RCPP. And I'm really excited about this program. It's a very valuable tool, and it can be used to implement initiatives throughout of addressing common resource problems and issues between both us and our partners. And so through this program, NRCS leverages both Farm Bill dollars and partner funds to treat those problems and interests. Next. NRCS utilizes both Farm Bill and non-Farm Bill dollars to help address watershed dam concerns as well. Next. And so this is a great opportunity, or I'm sorry, this is a great example of utilizing both types of funds, federal and non-federal, on an RCPP project, which I just mentioned. This project is occurring in Louisiana, and it's focusing on the rehabilitation of the watershed. So this partnership was implemented to address soil and water quality resource concerns within the Bayou Pierre watershed. Next. In the upper west fork of Cypress Bayou, NRCS is working with the town of Plaindale to rehab 3 watershed dams. Progress is being made on this watershed. In November of 2019, a kickoff meeting was held to discuss specifics of the project plan and work. Next. And for those who aren't familiar with the area, this is a site map showing those locations. Okay, next. So there are several things that trigger the need for a rehabilitation. Those include like the age of the dam, structural problems, sediment accumulation, damages from erosion. But the main one that our agency focuses on is the hazard classification. When a dam is rehabilitated, the design life is extended for 100 years. Most of the dams need to be upgraded to high hazard criteria. A high hazard dam is one that poses a threat to the loss of life due to houses and roads downstream. Rehabilitating the dam can involve replacing the principal spillway, widening the auxiliary spillway, or putting in a concrete spillway, raising the top of the dam, etc. Last year, Oklahoma NRCS was active within the Red River Basin, working to rehab several watershed dams. The accomplishment of this work were the completion of dam construction, beginning new constructions, as well as new designs. Next, please. Next, thanks. In addition to watershed dam rehabilitation, NRCS has been active in watershed operations beneficial to the Red River Basin. And we appreciate the close partnerships that are developed and are needed for proper watershed planning, watershed dam rehab and treatment. Next, please. In Louisiana, NRCS is working with partners within the Red Bayou watershed. The Red Bayou project is located in northeast Caddo Parish near the community of Gillum, Louisiana. And this watershed, it lies between the Red River and the Kelly Bayou and encompasses approximately 10.5 miles or 16,500 acres. Next. NRCS is working closely with Caddo Soil and Water Conservation District to improve Red Bayou. Caddo SWCD has addressed the stream bank concern, pump issues, and road bank culvert concerns. And through these actions, Caddo Soil and Water Conservation District and NRCS have provided technical and financial assistance to over 5,000 acres within the watershed. Next. Grant Parish watershed of Louisiana, it covers almost 37,000 acres. Next, please. And within this watershed, NRCS is working with partners to distribute water from the Red River, which will be utilized to ease drought conditions while providing incidental wildlife habitat and improvements. Through this project, NRCS and partners will hope to duplicate the success of the Red Bayou project further down the Red River in central Louisiana. Next, please. In addition, 50% of the Caddo Parish soil and water, in addition to the 50% of the Caddo Parish local EQIP funds will be dedicated to targeted conservation within the Kelly Bayou watershed. Next. Oklahoma NRCS is a leader in the planning and implementation of watershed projects. Oklahoma has 2,107 watershed dams, which is 20% of the nation total. Oklahoma and partners have also been successful in watershed operations benefiting the Red River Basin. They received additional federal funding for construction and inspection of 2 sites, and they've completed remedial repair work on 1 dam and are designing a new dam. Oklahoma also received $58,000 from the Emergency Watershed Protection Program for a lagoon stabilization project. And note on this slide, I missed there was misspelled. Instead of watershed protection, it says watershed projection. So if we're able to provide an edited slide, I'll try to do that. Next, please. So this is a little bit off script, but in addition to those watershed programs, I'd like to highlight another opportunity which has not been utilized to much extent, particularly in Texas, and it's the floodplain easement program. This program, it's authorized through the Emergency Watershed Protection Program, which are recovery funds. And in order to be able to be eligible for this program, there has to be a federal national disaster declaration identified for the area affected. So this is a great opportunity to help restore riparian areas, to help protect them, and then provide additional flood storage if needed. And so one of the things that I'm noticing as we are processing applications is not a lot of folks have good documentations of the evidence showing flooding. And it's quite understandable when it's on ag lands, especially, you know, there's not much that's needed unless it's a row crop or a commodity crop type area. But if you're looking at pasture land, grazing lands, you know, typically you wouldn't be taking pictures and documenting unless it was for some sort of other insurance program that they may have. So just wanted to share that information that if you do see flooding occur or when they come, just encourage individuals to take photos whenever they have it, and that way there's proper documentation should the opportunity come about that they wanted to participate. So we're dedicated to providing voluntary conservation assistance, and we appreciate the partnership and the trust that we have with you all and that we have with our landowners and operators. And with that, that's all I have. Next slide. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, Rob. That was a great run through of the various NRCS programs available and what's going on in the basin. So thanks for that. Any questions for Rob? Okay, well, I'm sorry we're not in person, so we can't give all of the federal agency presenters a big round of applause. Those were all really good presentations. So we'll give you a virtual hand. Thank you very much. Okay, any questions at all for the federal folks before we move on? Okay, and again, thank you for submitting the presentations and the efforts to make this virtual meeting work. We appreciate it.
Chairman Lowry, this is Clint Evans, acting state conservationist for NRCS in Texas. I might just tag in another plug for our regional conservation partnership program, as well as our environmental quality incentive programs, that if folks at the state and local level want to reach out to their NRCS state conservationist or applicable field offices, our folks have the capacity and the ability to help them prioritize targeted areas within their local watersheds that contribute to the overall Red River watershed and basin. So please just reach out to us and let us know, because we do partner with Bureau of Reclamation and other members through like their Water Smart program by partnering our EQIP funding with their funding in order to bring those projects together with ag producers out there on private lands, as well as other public municipal water supply type projects. So there's lots of opportunities, and especially with the RCPP, for folks to get together and leverage funding and technical and financial resources out there across the landscape. So thank you.
You bet. Thank you, Clint. That's a good reminder of a really important program that's applicable in lots of places. So thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. Maybe I'll switch the two items under the next topic, just because one, keeping with this federal theme. And let's go ahead and talk about the resolution for the stream gauging programs. That's attachment P as in Peter. I guess first I just entertain whether there's any suggested edits to the language. And thank you, Scott, for taking the lead of updating this. Commissioner Ward, I did notice we still have Bruce Holland's name on here. We'll get that updated before, assuming we agree to send this. But any discussion on the language itself? Okay, hearing none, I would, before we vote on whether to send this, given that we're doing this virtually and don't have a piece of paper to pass between everybody, I would suggest perhaps on the second page where it says concurred to and supported by, that we still just list all of your names as commissioners, but take away the signature lines, and that only I would sign it and date it, but still show that the full commission members support this resolution. I guess just logistically, I'm I guess questioning whether it's worth the mailing 8 times to get this signed by everybody. The other option would be to send electronic signatures, I guess. But anyway, I'd be open to your thoughts about just taking the signature lines away.
I think that's a great plan. It's Clyde.
Okay.
It's kind of crazy in federal court, everything's electronic now in most courts, and we use a /s/ with your name. That just means it's an electronic signature, but that's kind of it's not a necessary formality. So I think a listing of the names with your personal signature on it is exactly fine, perfectly fine.
Okay, great. Thanks, Todd. Appreciate that.
I have no problem with that at all.
Great, thanks. Okay, I guess any comment on just sort of what we're asking for, which is restoring the 50-50 cost share with the co-op match and the federal priority gauges to be fully funded.
And that's the same resolution we passed a number of years, I think, right?
It is. We have updated the language just as the USGS has kind of changed some of their kind of structure. Used to be the co-op program and what used to be the federal piece had an NSIP had a different acronym. So we've tried to kind of keep up with the budgeting changes, but you're right, the overall ask hasn't changed. Okay, I would entertain a motion to pass this resolution for this current year.
Yeah, I would make that motion. It's Clyde.
Okay, thanks, Clyde. Is there a second?
Julie.
Okay, thanks, Julie. I have a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of sending the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, hearing none.
So I do have a question. This is Julie. So
sure.
Does this relate to the interstate council on water policy resolution? Is this, do we need to sign on to their letter officially, or how do we need to discuss that?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Julie. I guess, and I'm happy to change my interpretation depending on this conversation. But I've since the time that I've been federal chair, I've felt like this resolution gave me authority, or sort of validation, if you will, to sign the 57-member stakeholder letter. So since I've been federal chair, I have signed it on behalf of the commission each year. For those of you who may just need a quick reminder, there is an appropriations request letter that gets circulated to a wide variety of water-related organizations to sign on, that gets delivered generally kind of mid to late March to the interior appropriation subcommittees requesting these same dollar amounts, if you will, sort of requesting continued funding and increased funding for the federal gauges, and to continue to work toward back toward a 50-50 share on the co-op match funds. So yes, they're related, and yes, I've kind of used this as my kind of authority for signing on to that letter.
And if I recall, Sue, so this is kind of why we have this resolution, so that we feel like that will allow us then to sign on to that larger letter from the Interstate Council on Water Policy.
Yeah, and you would know that history much better than I. I think, for a number of years while Jeff was federal chair, he did sign also. And I guess separately is just sort of support for the gauges that are in the basin. We always attach attachment A, and I believe the engineering committee reviewed that list of gauges last year. And I guess Scott, weigh in here if you feel like the engineering committee should take another look at that. But I believe the gauge list got cleaned up nicely last year.
So I believe Water Board legal counsel kind of weighed in on this and other compacts supporting an ICWP letter with the federal chairman's signature as well. Sarah Gibson may know something more about that.
Sorry, I have two computers and I can't figure out which mouse runs which computer today. I don't know of anything specific from any previous general counsels. I don't have any issue with signing on to any letters on behalf of the commission once this resolution is passed. I don't know if any of the other councils have an opinion on that.
This is Michelle Hall. I didn't really have an opinion on that either.
Well, Madam Chairman, it seems like it's your call. I don't think there's any concern about your continuing to just sign it. If you'd prefer to have a motion and we can certainly do that, but I think it's unnecessary in light of the resolution we just passed.
Okay, no, I'm good with that, and just not because everybody else does it makes it right, but there are a handful of other compact commissions that do sign on to the letter, and so we're not unique, I guess, in that regard. So good.
Okay.
Well, thank you for that.
I was after, so thank you guys.
You bet. Thank you, Julie. Okay, so let's move back up to item A under 10. And so when we did make the decision to hold this meeting virtually, Andrea and I both got some requests from people wanting to know whether the annual reports were anywhere online. What I could find was the 2017 meeting, which was hosted by Louisiana. That annual report is actually online, but hosted, Julie, on your Oklahoma Water Resources Board site. I do not see where the 2018 annual report, which is completed, and I think an electronic version was sent to all of us as commissioners. That was done by Arkansas, and that meeting was at Hot Springs. There we go. And then, of course, Mary's done great work with the 2019 annual report, and it will be ready to serve up here soon. So I guess I was interested in, I guess one, maybe Julie, from you, of just kind of that history of whether your Water Resources Board, had ever kind of agreed to sort of be the keeper, or we now have a nice site on TCEQ serving up the documents for this meeting. So I just kind of wanted to open it up for a discussion as to, one, are we all in agreement that having more of a web presence is good? And two, can we get sort of, maybe these last 3 years annual reports all in a place where they're a little more searchable and available. So with that, I will open it up.
Yeah, I certainly think that we should become more internet friendly and have it online. I think that's very helpful. If Julie wants to do it, that's fine. Andrea has been working very closely with the TCEQ folks with this meeting, and if we wanted just to continue that, we would certainly be willing to do that. So I think it's more important that it get done as to who does it, but we're willing to approach TCEQ and see if they would continue that effort. But if Julie would prefer to do it, that's fine too.
I have a comment that was semi-related to this issue. Going back to 2003 or 4, we were trying to maintain a location of a permanent record for the compacts records, and at that point, we were supposed to fund some storage cabinets, and the USGS was going to store the records for us. Over the last 15 years, that's been brought up at several meetings. Has a permanent records location ever actually been compiled or consummated?
Yes, this is the USGS. We have kept reports going all the way back in a locked, fireproof cabinets in our office. We do not have anything online though, so no previous years or no recent years.
Sue, one other thing I'd like to note is in establishing this virtual meeting setup, we did go ahead and set up the Red River YouTube channel for the Red River Compact Commission, which I think we need to make sure that we maintain and use, and anybody else that if we have any other meetings, just know that we now have an actual YouTube channel set up. James did that for this organization. So that that infrastructure we I think need to keep that as part of the consideration and part of the functionality for the organization moving forward. I like the on the TCEQ website, the Texas site, they have a dedicated page for us. So we do have a page there, and we could be the online repository for the information, and host the link to the YouTube there, and then maybe we just continue with was it the USGS as the paper repository, that we just provide a paper copy of our annual reports to them and they keep them there, and then the TCEQ site be an online repository and host the YouTube channel on their site as well. But I mean, I don't think it would be a bad thing for if Oklahoma or somebody else wants to have it as well, or if all 4 states have it on their respective web pages, if they have that available.
Right, or point to TCEQ, I guess, if they're going to kind of be the master.
That's correct. I could just simply put a link to that site. But I think that we also just need to know officially there was an official Red River Compact Commission YouTube channel set up so that now all of our meetings and activities can be live streamed.
That's fantastic. Right. Certainly. I know the lead for one board has had a. You guys need to back. Let me turn my mic off. Yeah, that's fantastic. That's something we have had a.
And Jennifer Sheehan, your mic is on. If you had anything you were going to add to this.
Yeah, the echo. So we have had a page.
Hello, this is Mary. Can you hear me?
We can now, yes. Before you were kind of fuzzy.
I think Julie was trying to say that we have maintained, I think the 2018 report is now uploaded on our website, but we've just had 1 year at a time report available. So if the TCEQ was to have, several past years available, then, that's probably a good idea. But, then we can just have that link also, because we have all of the interstate stream compacts we're involved in on that web page. So we can just link, offer the link to TCEQ and have
sure
whatever's
yes.
and then
Yes.
And then make sure that the USGS has the paper copies. I know I haven't been over to that office. The person that had this position coordinating compacts some years ago had coordinating with the office and had the files over there. So Jason, maybe we can get together and find out what status the paper copies are in.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
I think a couple other things to address are, maybe Clyde, does the commission want to address whether or not they want, by policy to keep like 3 years up, 2 years up, 4 years up? You know what I mean? Do we want to keep, how many of the annual reports do you want to keep online? How long do you want to maintain online? Do you want to go back 3 years, 2 years, all of them? So that, we kind of have, y'all contemplated how long to keep, how long to go back with these reports and make them available online. And, I think that the reality of it is these reports are just so large and they're very helpful, but they're just really hard to transmit and distribute on email lists because they're just really large files. And so, to have that online repository and a link that people can just go click and download it is just so much, makes it so much more user friendly.
Maybe the next step would be for us to reach out to TCEQ and see what capacity they might have for maintaining that data. Work with Julie if Oklahoma is interested, and just come up with a solution to the problem in terms of where best to do it, who's willing to do it, and there could be some cost associated with storing all that data if you stored it all and you committed to storing it forever. So those are issues that we would need to run by the various agencies, I think.
This is Ed Knight. I was curious, haven't been around for a couple of years anyways. I know our budget's always flush. Is it reasonable or even possible for us to consider just having the Red River Compact website and have it independent of any state agencies, and that the compact actually compensate or pay for our server so we have our own one? In that respect, it may be easier because we don't have to deal with a state agency. That the transfer of funds may work better. And then we could just set up a SharePoint or Google Drive or whatever to house and store everything. And then we could have our entire history in one location. And then the only thing we have to work out is how we maintain it.
Those are all good points.
Yeah, Ed, this is Sue. I guess I certainly don't want to discount that might be possible. I guess just from, the other organizations that I'm sort of affiliated with, where we do have an independent, just GoDaddy account. I mean, there will be probably $1,000 a year. I mean, by the time you, maybe that's a little high, $800 for making sure that the WordPress updates get done, and just the maintenance of the web address through GoDaddy or somebody else. And so anyway, not saying we shouldn't do that, but it's not without some cost to the commission if they would decide to go that route. Well, great. So just to kind of summarize, Clyde, if we could impose on you and Andrea maybe and Scott to sort of explore through TCEQ, and if they're able to serve up maybe the last 3 or 4 years without, surpassing whatever their storage restrictions might be, maybe that would be good. And then Mary and Julie, the ones you already have loaded up, could just get kind of pointed to and go from there. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, we'll be happy to do that.
Great, thank you.
We'd be happy to be on a call if y'all want to meet as a group with TCEQs.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, this is Ryan too. So just let me know several things. I mean, one is we have funding and budget to pay for. I don't know if a YouTube channel costs something, but just send me the bill and we can write that check real easy. It's all covered under our current budget. Also, let me be on that call because I can figure out. I mean, we operate this as a separate account outside of. It's not in our state funding source. It's a completely separate account. So if it's in our budget, it's pretty easy for me to expense and write a check to cover it if y'all agree. So just keep me on that call too and decide how's best to do it.
Thank you, Ryan.
Sounds great. Well, thanks for that. I think that's an important step to getting us in the 21st century here. So thank you very much. I guess sort of related to that then would be the first item under new business, which is the annual report for this coming year. And again, Andrea, thanks for all your kind of thinking ahead of how the report's already gathered can go in. We did discuss just briefly, I think there is still a need to do a handful of paper copies. And Mary, I see you've joined us to the finalizing 2019 also kind of fits in with this discussion of how many paper copies each of the states desire. I guess, especially knowing that the electronic version will be available on the web. So. I think last year we just had each state kind of lay, I know some have a requirement to like post it with their state libraries and that sort of thing. So I think for the federal chair, I would probably want one paper copy, but that's sufficient. And then I think one gets still delivered to sort of the White House as a part of the federal appointment. So I guess that would be 2 for the federal piece. I guess. Do we want to, if the other states kind of know what you want, you can just sort of shout it out or email that either to me or Mary.
You can email me if you want, if you'd like. And then I can, you can let me know how many paper copies you'd like. And then also CD copies, DVDs, we can make you a disc copy and send those as well.
Good. And I guess, Andrea, anything else you need to know for doing 20?
I don't think so, but I may be calling you, Mary, for your help on making sure I have everything right, if that's okay.
Sure. We can work on that together. Yeah. The draft report that I emailed to everyone, I had forgotten that the chairman wanted a draft. So like Friday, I'm trying to put this together quickly. So, but it's basically pretty much, I follows, previous reports. It still needs to be, cleaned up a little, page numbers and that extra pages taken out and that kind of thing. So I think everything's included. If anyone has noticed that something's been omitted or needs to be added and or changed in some way, you can let me know.
And Mary, maybe you and I can just work together. I'm happy to just provide an electronic signature in blue ink as opposed to mailing things. I think that, given that we're meeting virtually today, that just makes that a little handier. So.
Okay, sure.
Okay, good. Anything else related to the annual reports?
Thank you.
No, thank you guys. I know they're a lot of work, so appreciate it. So now moving on to, I guess what we might want to do in 2021, assuming we can leave our houses a little bit more by April of 2021. I think it's been discussed as to letting Texas have another shot at it. I did just sort of run that by Pat Landry, and he's fine with Texas staying, or they would also be happy to host in Shreveport. So we'll just kind of open that to discussion.
Clyde, you're muted.
There we go. So we would be happy to host a live meeting and would enjoy doing that. So if that's acceptable to the group, then we would do that in 2021.
Great.
And as I mentioned at the beginning, it'll sort of be a combination of Texas-Oklahoma host, because we will be doing the ranch across the river. It's only, you could literally throw a rock to Texas from there, but it is Oklahoma.
We're in.
All right.
I was going to say, maybe there's times Julie wants to throw rocks to Texas, but we'll not let her do that.
I like, you guys got the business in and we've got the party in, so that's good.
You definitely do.
Good. So I think the bylaws do discuss sort of late April, I guess just for planning purposes, are April 26th and 27th would be a Monday and Tuesday, I believe, in 2021. Are those as good as any?
I think so.
All right. Dandy. I think we've kind of touched on any changes to the committees. Again, if as states, if you do have any personnel changes or just additional people you'd like added to the distribution, please just let me know. And to just kind of recap the couple of assignments that I had noted, one was just for the legal committee and probably meeting, as appropriate with engineering to continue to explore sort of Arkansas's abilities or authorities for compact compliance. And then related to the environmental committee is exploring this 303D mapping topic, and they'll report back on that next year. So I think for our appointment of vice chair and secretary, that can just stay with Clyde and Andrea, if that's acceptable.
Acceptable to us.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So anything else under new business? Okay, hearing none. Any public comment? Yeah, Jennifer. Oops, your little mic's on green, but we're not hearing you. Okay, it shows that you're muted now. Okay, your mic just went to green again.
Casey, Mike can try posting it in the comment section.
Okay, good idea. Just in chat to everyone. I'm so sorry, Jennifer. I don't know what's going on, but we can't hear you. Okay, well, we'll keep the line open so that we can read Jennifer's chat.
Really, it says that I'm not unmuted. Hopefully you can hear me.
Okay, great, Jennifer. Yeah, if you just want to send, I'm reading your chat, probably everybody else can see this too. You can just send it to me and I'll get it right out to the full distribution. So again, sorry about that, not quite sure. We can see you, we just can't hear you. Okay, so I think we're firm for April 26th, 27th of next year. Again, so much thank you to Clyde, you and Andrea and others in your office, James. Any other comments as we wrap up here?
Yeah, we appreciate you as well, and Sue, you too. I know it's a lot of work.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, not sure we really need a motion for adjournment. I will just maybe take again Chair's prerogative and thank everybody and wish everyone staying well and safe and a good 4th of July as we look ahead for the week. So thank you everybody very much, and thanks for your flexibility with this virtual format. So
thank you. Very good job.
Thank you, Chairman. Great job.
You bet. My
Thanks,
pleasure.
Chairman. Thank you,
Very
Jack.
good. Enjoy it.
Good. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye.
all.
Well, it was nice to